and 106.3.
1, 2, 3. I think it was a good game. Had a couple of big plays.
He scores.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mace.
It was pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willy Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personality of all time.
On 102.5 and 106.3, The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3, The Game, and the Game Nashville app. We are live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios, streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook Sports. I mean, we had a whole plan today, and in the last few minutes, it just got, completely changed. But we will keep everyone abreast of what's going on in the city. We are not oblivious to the fact of what's going on in Green Hills at St. Paul Christian School. There will be updates around the city. An active aggressor situation at the St. Paul Christian School in Green Hills. So we hope that everybody stays safe, and we'll make sure to keep everybody updated throughout the day of what is going on at St. Paul Christian School. Everybody stay safe. We'll be wishing our very, very best to everybody involved. Willy Donick, how we doing?
Oh, well, this is scary. I mean,
Scary.
we see this all too often, but when it happens here in our city, we're paying special attention. So our thoughts are with everybody over in that area. I know everybody is reacting as best they can here, but boy, scary.
Scary situation. Thoughts and prayers to the families and also to the first responders, who I know will be making sure that everybody in that area is safe. So good luck to everyone with that, and our very best to everyone with that. I had a whole plan today, Willy, until we saw the tweets from a certain quarterback in the NFL today. Lamar Jackson took to Twitter to express some things that I sure have been discussed behind closed doors, but took to Twitter to air all of the grievances, on the Lamar Jackson side at least. So this Lamar Jackson saga, it really has been going on for the last couple of years, and it has only gotten more and more interesting over the last couple of weeks. We know that Lamar Jackson wanted a long-term, big-time, fully guaranteed contract from the Baltimore Ravens, to which the Baltimore Ravens said, we're not going to do that. They placed the non-exclusive franchise tag on Lamar Jackson, and Lamar Jackson is free to sow his wild oats and for other teams in the NFL to match that offer or to give Lamar Jackson a better offer, to which, of course, under the guidelines of a non-exclusive franchise tag, the Ravens had every right to match it. So I thought that was a good move by the Ravens. Lamar wanted one thing. The Baltimore Ravens didn't want to give him that one thing, so they said, go find it somewhere else. Of course, what we've learned since then is there haven't been suitors for Lamar Jackson. And then the whole story of his buddy, his business partner, that took it upon himself to call each individual franchise to try and persuade them to give Lamar Jackson an offer. It has just gotten wild with Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, and it's gotten even more interesting since Lamar Jackson took to Twitter earlier this morning, and he said, and this was, side note, the NFL owners' meetings are going down right now. Lamar Jackson tweeted this when John Harbaugh, head coach of the Baltimore Ravens, was at the podium and speaking at the NFL owners' meetings. Lamar Jackson tweeted, a letter to my fans. I want to first thank you all for all the love and support that you consistently show toward me. All of you are amazing, and I appreciate you so much. I want you all to know not to believe everything you read about me. Let me personally answer your questions. In regards to my future plans, as of March 2nd, I requested a trade from the Ravens organization, for which the Ravens has not been interested in meeting my value. Any and everyone that's met me or been around me know I love the game of football, and my dream is to help a team win the Super Bowl. You all are great, but I had to make a business decision that was best for my family and I. No matter how far I go or where my career takes me, I'll continue to close to my fans of Baltimore Flock Nation and the entire state of Maryland. You'll see me again. The chunk of that, the most important chunk of that, is Lamar Jackson requested a trade from the Ravens right around the same time that the Ravens placed the non-exclusive franchise tag on Lamar Jackson.
Right. And but before we get into this, I just want to share one tweet with our audience if people are just driving around wondering what's happening, because I'm watching Channel 4 and I'm seeing a tweet from Metro Nashville Police Department. And so just an update here. An active shooter event has taken place at Covenant School, Covenant Presbyterian Church on Burton Hills Drive. The shooter was engaged by Metro Nashville Police Department and is dead. Student reunification with parents is at Woodmont Baptist Church, 2100 Woodmont Boulevard. So passing that along. So that's
I appreciate that update.
at least it's been that's just something that we could update. When we were coming in, just the minutes leading up to the show, we had not seen that. So just wanted to share that with the audience. So with Lamar, I read that this morning, Caroline, and first of all, I would say, look, if I'm Lamar Jackson, I would be frustrated, right? This has been going on for the better part of a year, a long time. This has been leading up. He wants this next contract. I'm sure he wants it to be over. Difficult stuff, but at the same time, these are part of this is his choice, right? Where he is. He was offered, I think, reportedly a pretty good deal that he thought he was worth more, and then it's gotten to this. The Ravens had the right to put this tag on him. So to share today that he made a request for the trade, I don't think changes a whole lot for me. I mean, because essentially it's better for him that it's this exclusive tag. In other words, all 32 teams, they know exactly what they have to do to get Lamar Jackson. It could be one phone call, and in theory, you could make your play for Lamar Jackson. So the Ravens are just utilizing the tools that they have at their disposal. They want to get a good deal for Lamar Jackson. They've said nothing but things toward they want Lamar Jackson to be their quarterback. So to me, it's kind of irrelevant that he asked for a trade. I mean, you've got 32 teams that could make one phone call, make him an offer. They know what the compensation is. It's 2 first-round picks. So essentially, that's your trade. The only caveat is the Ravens can match that. But if he's so dissatisfied with the Ravens, then he could probably have that discussion with them saying, look, if somebody makes me an offer sheet, will you take the 2 first-round picks and let me go? That's a discussion that they could have. That's the only thing I can think of. But, it's basically this is the business of the collective bargaining agreement. This is also some of the little things that go on for the argument of sometimes it's better to have an agent. You're going to hear that argument a lot, I think, in the coming days based on this. Like, I'm not sure, it's going to rile up fans. It's going to get people excited. It's going to have everybody saying, oh, Lamar, we love you. We want you to be our quarterback. Other teams can come in from their fans and say, we want you to be our quarterback. I saw there was plenty of tweets with Lamar Jackson in a Titans uniform, right, in response to Lamar. But the bottom line is this is business. And the Ravens have their cards. Lamar has his leverage, and that's what it is.
And that's true. I think that the Baltimore Ravens made a brilliant business decision because they felt that they weren't going to give Lamar Jackson what they wanted. They felt that he wasn't worth that. So if they felt that the relationship had soured, or they at least wanted to give Lamar Jackson the opportunity to go seek what he wanted, sure, go for it. By all means, go for it. If you find that offer that we're not willing to match, then we will get 2 first-round picks in return. And if we are willing to match it, then we'll match it, and you will be our quarterback of the future. Lamar Jackson requesting a trade doesn't do anything in terms of the Baltimore Ravens, because all the Baltimore Ravens can do is say, no, you're going to be with the Ravens next year. But I think the important part about Lamar Jackson requesting a trade, the act of requesting a trade, is that Lamar wants out of Baltimore. That Lamar wants something that the Baltimore Ravens aren't willing to give him. And I don't know what the relationship is like between Lamar and the Baltimore Ravens, but the act of Lamar wanting to be away from Baltimore, I think is key. Because it might get to a point where the Ravens are like, look, this relationship obviously has gone south, and we don't feel like we can repair it. What you want is what we're not willing to give you. We're going to part ways, and we're going to move forward without Lamar Jackson. And that's where the Titans, I think, can come into it. Because the Ravens can say, no, we're not trading you. You're going to be our quarterback next year. But there also could still be an opportunity where the Ravens are willing to put Lamar Jackson on the trading block. And should the Titans be interested in
that? I think we got to go back to to the question, the first question. Beside, obviously, why does he want to trade? Is if there is a trade that could potentially be facilitated, I can't see Baltimore unless they're getting more out of the trade than they would if someone was offering Lamar a contract and they know exactly what they're getting in 2 first rounds, unless somebody's willing to, make a trade of that significance, whether it be a first round this year and a first round next year, a first round this year, first next year and a second, we got to wonder if this is just Lamar's way of pushing Baltimore to make a decision, because if we are to believe the numbers that have been thrown out there, he has a $130-something million 3-year deal on the table, or it was on the table. So is he now pushing Baltimore to make a definite decision, or does he not, or has he gotten to a point where he's like, I want out. I just want out, period. I don't care if I'm not getting a fully guaranteed contract with another organization. I just want out of Baltimore. That could be the case, because I think we haven't seen this from Lamar, like going to Twitter and he's been relatively silent in all of this, unless he had to say something. He's been in the background, but it seemed with this last tweet, things have sort of ramped up for him. Maybe he's to a point where, there's been some back and forth, and he's just like, forget it. I'm done with it. Y'all don't respect me as a player and what I have done and what I could potentially do for this organization. If that is indeed the case, then trade me. I want out of here, because even if I sign back, there's going to be some animosity, at least on my end. So let's work out a way to get me out of here. And even if I go to another team, I may not be guaranteed the full contract, but right now I don't care. I just want out of here. If I can get more than a 133 or 130 that was offered to me by y'all guaranteed, if I can get that plus some somewhere else and not a fully guarantee, I'm okay with that. But right now I just want out of here. And that could be his stance at this moment.
Here's the thing that I'm trying to get to the heart of, right? Because John Harbaugh and the Ravens have never said anything but, we want Lamar to be our quarterback. We want him to be our quarterback.
I believe
Lamar Jackson, up until this past season, I thought always wanted to stay as long as he got what he felt was a fair deal. Now I'm hearing, this is the only thing to me that's significant about this, is he's coming out publicly and saying, I don't want to be a Raven anymore. But I'm crossed and just feels like the relationship is broken. That's what I can't get to the heart of. Because if he does that, if he's demanding a trade, I don't think he's going to end up getting the deal that he's looking for. The Ravens control all the leverage with this.
Or whoever, if his representative, non-representative, went to a team and the team said, listen, we're not negotiating because Baltimore is telling us, this is what Baltimore is telling us. So there's no need for us to negotiate with Lamar, because Baltimore, this is what Baltimore wants. This is what they've told everybody. So us negotiating with y'all, it makes no sense. Just like what you said last week, Willie. It's like, okay, we're going to do all the negotiation, and Baltimore ain't going to do nothing but turn around and match it.
Right.
And now we've done all the work, so we're not going to do that. So now Lamar, if that is indeed the case, now Lamar's like, just trade me. Get me out of here. Because right now, there's no movement whatsoever. I can't get any movement because of what you potentially already told these teams. Like, do what y'all going to do. We're still going to, whatever y'all put on the table, we're going to match that, and we're going to keep Lamar.
Yep, it's a bargaining power situation. It's a business. It's a business decision.
it's a good move by the Ravens.
Yeah.
Very good
But
move.
to your point, D-Mase, if Lamar is thinking, just let me out, like at this point, the contract, the money, so on and so forth, per this tweet that Lamar Jackson put out, it says, I requested a trade from the Ravens organization for which the Ravens has not been interested in meeting my value. So that, to me, tells me that Lamar wants out because he feels disrespected by the Ravens organization. That he says, I feel like I am X amount of dollars valuable to this team. And when the team says, we don't think that you are, he feels one way about it, even though the Ravens have to make a business decision about the money that they put forth in a quarterback and the market that they set for quarterbacks for the rest of the 31 teams in the league. The Ravens don't want to do that. But I understand Lamar's frustration with the team, also understanding that Lamar doesn't have an agent to be able to bounce some of these thoughts off of. Lamar doesn't have an agent to say, hey, Lamar, the Ravens are doing business. Just like you're doing what's best for you, the Ravens organization is doing what's best for it. And to kind of, talk Lamar off of a ledge a little bit. But I'll go back to the question. If Lamar wants out of Baltimore, he tweeted today, he requested a trade from Baltimore on March 2nd. 1, should the Titans be involved in a Lamar Jackson trade? And 2, is Lamar Jackson worth it? What you would have to get up to go out to get him. We'll take your thoughts on that. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025-1063 The Game.
Every Wednesday at 8:30. Join Robbie and Rexrode for The Choice is Yours.
2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions.
They'll answer a couple of questions about life and sports. The Choice is Yours is built by Jared Companies. You have a choice. So when you have a need for site and utility work, fire protection, concrete and asphalt services, the choice is simple. It's Jared Companies. For more, visit jaredcompaniesinc.com. The Choice is Yours. Wednesdays at 8:30 on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Time to tell you about League Company, 615-567-1000 or leaguecompany.com. Proud sponsor of our Nashville Predators hockey coverage here on 1025 The Game. It resumes tomorrow in Boston. The Predators will take on the top team in the NHL, the Boston Bruins, tomorrow, and then the Pittsburgh Penguins on Thursday. 2-game road trip. League Company also has all your needs with your air conditioning, your heating, your plumbing, your electric systems. It's called the Home Maintenance Plan. You'll get annual checkups of those 4 systems, and you'll get discounts on any repairs if you're part of the Home Maintenance Plan. It works for us in our household. We've had it for years. We've got great service from League Company, so we highly recommend that. 615-567-1000 or leaguecompany.com. Also, just keep that phone number handy for any time you've got trouble with general maintenance in your yard, in your house, if you got home improvement things that you want to do, or if you just need to get that air conditioning unit checked. 615-567-1000 or leaguecompany.com.
20 years ago, when Genesis Diamonds came to Nashville, this was one of the most expensive cities in America for diamond jewelry. Our radical approach and no middleman pricing changed that forever. And now we're doing it again, this time with lab-grown diamonds. We were shocked to find out what the other mall stores and the other big radio advertisers were charging. They sell their platinum 4-carat VS2 lab-grown earrings for $15,720. We sell them for $6,900. Their 3.08-carat lab-grown round diamond with G-Color VS2 clarity is $10,045. We sell it for $5,900. Looks like they might be going back to the old ways. If they're charging this much on lab-grown diamonds, kind of makes you wonder what else they're selling at the same outrageous markup. Nashville, we are not going backwards. At Genesis Diamonds, our non-commissioned trusted advisors are here to give you all the information with details you can trust and prices you can count on. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
In football, we all take our hits, but protection keeps you in the game. That's why I always wore a helmet and pads on the field. Life too comes with risk, so I got vaccinated and boosted for COVID-19. Hi, this is former Tennessee Titan running back and 3-time Pro Bowler Chris Johnson. Talk to your doctor and get the information you need to make an informed choice. Gear up, Tennessee. Protect yourself and your family against COVID-19.
For more information, go to nflagearup.org/Tennessee. Houston Clinic Orthopedics at TriStar Hendersonville Medical Clinic offers world-class orthopedic care. The doctors at this location specialize in hand, knee, shoulder, hip, foot, ankle, and spine, and general orthopedics. They accept walk-in and same-day appointments. Get back to enjoying life. Schedule your appointment online at tn.houston.com or just walk in to Houston Clinic Orthopedics at TriStar Hendersonville Medical Clinic. When experience matters, trust Houston Clinic Orthopedics.
When looking to buy or sell a new home, economy comes into play, right? Hey, it's Withrow. Hunter Richard and the crew at Regal Realty Group are in the know about the housing market. Rates have started going back down and are more feasible, and Nashville is on the upswing again. The Regal Realty Group team can help you from contract to closing and everything in between. Their in-house title company, Monarch, will even come to wherever you are to close. These days, it's all about convenience, and Regal Realty Group makes it so convenient. Give them a call at 866-OUTKICK and let them get to work for you.
Anyone want to tell me what happened?
Did you miss any of today's show?
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry.
Subscribe to the Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase podcast on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, or by going to theGameNashville.com.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
Having some fun in the midday.
Yeah, it's awesome.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3, The Game and the Game Nashville app. I just wanted to keep everyone updated with what's going on in our city. It was initially reported by Scoop Nashville that it was St. Paul's School where there was an active shooter. I just wanted to clarify, this is from Metro Nashville PD, that it is the Covenant Presbyterian School across the street, and that the active shooter has been engaged by Metro Nashville PD and is now dead. So we wish that all of the families of teachers, administration, students, everyone at Covenant School the very best, and we'll keep you all updated with that situation. Thank you to Metro Nashville PD for keeping that situation and keeping everyone as safe as we possibly can. Lamar Jackson took to Twitter this morning, said that he requested a trade from the Baltimore Ravens, that he felt like the Baltimore Ravens were not honoring his value to the team. Basically, he wanted a dollar amount. The Ravens weren't willing to give him that dollar amount, and that he wanted out. If the Baltimore Ravens do honor that request, now they placed the non-exclusive franchise tag on Lamar Jackson. Teams have every right to give Lamar Jackson an offer. But where is the relationship with Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens? Because if Lamar Jackson is taking to Twitter and airing his side of things and saying, hey, I want out, that to me seems like it's a slippery slope between the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson. So, should the Titans be involved? And is Lamar Jackson worth it? Is Lamar Jackson as a quarterback, also considering that he spent the last 2 seasons injured on the bench, is he worth what you would have to give up to trade for Lamar Jackson, and also worth the dollar amount that Lamar Jackson is asking for?
Is he? I've said this about players. Listen, you're worth as much as you think you are, but then you got to understand that somebody else may have a different worth for you. So you got to be able to understand and come to grips with that. You may think your worth, and rightfully so, you may think your worth is 200 plus guaranteed. That's great, and I'm with you on that. But you got to understand that the team or teams that are looking at you, they may look at it a lot differently. You know, they got to take into account a lot of other things, not just one individual player. So is he worth the money he wants? Yeah, in his eyes, he is. I'm not going to sit here and tell him that he's not. Now, I think the Titans, they should look at it, but I wouldn't, depending on what I had to give up and then subsequently have to pay him. This is not a franchise that is, one player away from winning a championship, because what happens is you go out and get DeMar, you got to trade away assets, then you got to give him the money. Where's the money to pay other people? And I know you can finagle the salary cap. I get that. But you're not going to be able to go out and build a team around him that he's going to need. It may take some years. So if you're willing to wait some years to potentially, reap the rewards of getting him, then okay. But if you want to win like right now and tomorrow meaning next year, next season, then you can't. I don't think you can make the deal that the Baltimore Ravens could possibly want. Again, is he? Would I love to see him and hear it? Absolutely, because he's a dynamic player, hands down. He's a dynamic player, and he's a winning player based upon when he's playing and when he's not playing. But with any quarterback, are they worth you giving up that much and then subsequently having to pay him, and what does that do to you when you're trying to build your team moving forward?
There's a 0% chance that the Titans are going to get in on this. For all it hasn't changed at all in my mind. I thought this last week. When all of that you just laid out there, you have to overpay so that the Ravens won't match the offer. So you have to overpay for Lamar Jackson. And you have to give up 2 first-round picks. Plus, right now you have Ryan Tannehill on the roster. You'd have to deal with that contract. That would be troublesome. That would cost you money. You also don't have much cap space to begin with. You're trying to sign Jeffrey Simmons. So what does that do to your Jeffrey Simmons budget? It blows it out of the water. You got a whole new set of problems right there. You still have plenty of other holes on the roster. So it's not practical at all to even get on this game.
Unless you facilitate a trade and not a sign. If you facilitate a trade, Ryan Tannehill can be part of the trade. So you're swapping the contract, sending it over to Baltimore. That's the only way I think the Titans could possibly get into this. Like you said, Willie, negotiating, because Baltimore's going to end up just matching it, But if you facilitate a trade where we're not working on a contract, we're working on the trade for the player. Then once he get here, we can work on a contract. That's the only way you can do it.
But what's in it for Baltimore?
They would get, more than likely, they would get Ryan Tannehill. They would get first-round picks, either this year and next year, or this year or next year and a year beyond. It would work better, I believe, for the Titans if they did it that way rather than working out a deal and then the Baltimore Ravens say, okay, well, thank you, Tennessee. Thank you, Rand. We're just going to match that deal.
Okay. But then still, you're giving up. You just got Jackson. You're the Titans. Mm-hmm. You now are going to have a lot of trouble figuring out how to sign Jeffrey Simmons. So you're almost trading him away in some ways. You're giving up 2 first-round picks. I just don't think that works. That doesn't work.
If you're giving up Ryan Tannehill, I don't think you would have to give up 2 first-round picks. If that's what the asking price is for Baltimore, is your starting quarterback and 2 first-round picks,
even 1 first-round pick. I don't think the Titans get better with that. I don't like that.
Lamar Jackson?
No, I don't. I think that's a net. You're still not any higher up on the chain in the AFC picture.
I totally disagree. I think Lamar Jackson would make wherever Lamar Jackson ends up, whether it's Baltimore or any other quarterback needy team, I think that makes that team better. Because Lamar Jackson is a good quarterback. I think Lamar Jackson is a top quarterback in this league. Now, I would take a Joe Burrow or a Patrick Mahomes over Lamar Jackson, but Lamar Jackson is a step up from Ryan Tannehill, I believe.
But are you losing Jeffrey Simmons? That's my question.
If you're losing Jeffrey Simmons, they wouldn't make that move.
I don't think they lose Jeffrey Simmons. The only way they can possibly lose Jeffrey Simmons if they did it the way we were talking about last week, where, they work out a deal and for whatever reason Baltimore said, well, we're not going to match that. Just give us our 2 first-round picks and whatever. I don't know whatever else comes with that. But give us those 2 first-round picks. You got to pay him now, that contract. You can't renege on that contract. Now you got to pay him. Now you can't. Now you're in a situation where you're strapped to pay Jeffrey Simmons. But if you do it the other way, facilitate a trade, you get Ryan Tannehill, you get our 11th pick this year, or you get whatever pick next year in the 2nd-round pick as well, and you get our quarterback, they can then, I believe, work out a deal. Because I think at that point, Lamar wouldn't be hell-bent on a guaranteed contract. He would want his money, but you don't have to guarantee all of it, because you go to him and say, listen, this is what we're trying to do. Now, if you want a team around you, then you're going to have to come off the guarantee thing. We're going to pay you. Hell, and if you're good, you're going to keep on getting contracts after contract after contract. It doesn't matter. But we got to be able to bring in players as we're bringing you in to make us all better so the trade can be justified. But if you do it the other way, I don't know if there's a way you're going to be able to sign Jeffrey Simmons.
And that is what I want to get into coming up next. What would be worth a trade for Lamar Jackson and what wouldn't be worth a trade for Lamar Jackson. And, of course, your thoughts. I see your phones lining up, and we'll right to those coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
I think it's a really good move.
TD, it's never the offseason for ESPN's Teron Davenport.
I mean, that's something you obviously have to look at.
He's always talking about what's next for the Tennessee Titans.
Quarterback is a really important thing that they have to get determined.
Check out TD, Mondays at 1, Thursdays at 3, and Friday mornings at 8:30. Plus, the Talkin' with TD podcast.
Looking forward to that.
TD is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Attention all fire and safety line experts. Middle Tennessee's fastest growing fire protection company is looking for experienced service technicians, designers, and sprinkler system experts like you. Tired of working for a large corporate employer? Work for a company where you're more than just a number. Jarrett Fire Protection is owned and operated by Nashville natives and wants to invite you to grow with their amazing team.
Hi, I'm Jason Jarrett, owner of Jarrett Companies. I'm looking to hire experienced sprinkler experts and will offer a sign-on bonus of up to $5,000 for certified professionals. In addition to our great benefits that include a 401k match, PTO, and top pay with annual bonuses, we will also provide you with the top-of-the-line tools, trucks, and equipment that you need to grow your career. Our customer base is large and business is booming with many opportunities for advancement. Give us a call or go online to jarrettfire.com and apply today to become a member of our family and protect our community. That's JARRETT fire.com. Jarrett Companies, where we are above and beyond industry standards.
Hey, it's Jared for Hiller. Sometimes replacing equipment in your home can be overlooked until something breaks, but there's actually big problems that can come from outdated old vintage HVAC systems. Older systems require more maintenance and results in higher utility bills. This month during Hiller's Vintage Showdown, they're giving away a free HVAC system to the owner of the oldest unit. It's easy to enter. Just go online to happyhiller.com and submit a picture of your old unit. Everybody wins with a trade-in credit and 0% interest financing for up to 48 months on replacement. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Bar Lines in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hey Nashville, it's Chef Phillip at Bar Lines at the Omni Hotel. Come try our new Nashville hot fish and chips. Spear-battered black cod served over crispy fries or tots with Omni's own Nashville hot season blend. Served with chipotle slaw and malt vinegar tartar sauce.
Attending an event downtown? Dine at Bar Lines in the Omni Nashville Hotel. Join the Nashville Area Chamber of Commerce April 3rd through 6th for an exclusive look into what makes Nashville the IT city. Whether you're new to town or a Nashville native, Intro Nashville gives you the opportunity to become engaged and connected to our city's community. During this multi-day immersive program, you'll hear from over 20 community leaders and industry experts whose storytelling unlocks a comprehensive view of our city and region. Gain historical and economic perspective on Nashville while establishing relationships with local business leaders. Register now at intronash.com.
Coration CBD products. Coration began as our family's mission to provide the Nashville community with locally and organically sourced CBD products. We are passionate about providing high-quality CBD products for everyday use. Tinctures, topicals, and pet products too. We are a Pick 10 company. Our hemp is organically grown and produced in Nashville, Tennessee from sustainably sourced non-GMO genetics. All of our products are lab tested. Find all of our products at CorationCompany.com.
When you want live and local.
If they were just better at the offensive line.
You can be a contender in the AFC again.
They've had more winning seasons than not. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game has you covered. Looking for some national programming?
Why do I want to get a running back like that 5 more years?
The AFC now is so deep at quarterback.
Check out 94.9 The Fan. Nashville's home for all things sports is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan.
Hey, it's ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck on Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Do you think Lamar Jackson ends up anywhere other than Baltimore once all of his contract negotiations have settled?
I don't think he ends up anywhere but Baltimore. And the reason I say that is I just think there are so many, I think there's a few moving parts, on it. And then, until Lamar hires an agent, I think negotiating those moving parts while Baltimore continues to have, essentially the first right of refusal. I think it's the most logical scenario that he ends up back there. And look, from a how to make that work perspective for the Titans, I just don't know how you do that when I believe as we sit right now, Ryan Tannehill's cap charge, salary against this salary cap this season is just about as high as any player in the National Football League. So I don't know how you kind of, merge those two things together where you're on the hook for Ryan Tannehill's salary, and then you would be signing Lamar Jackson to a contract that absolutely would be, I would think at least you'd want more than this, but a 4-year, $200 million contract. So I just don't see how that could happen for Tennessee.
There you go. That was Tim Hasselbeck on the show last week. I asked him any way that Lamar Jackson would be anywhere other than Baltimore. And he said probably be in Baltimore. And what the Titans would have to give up in order to get Lamar Jackson might just be a little bit too rich. And at that time, I would have agreed with him. I thought that there was no way that Lamar Jackson would be anywhere other than Baltimore, because Baltimore values Lamar Jackson, that they would match whatever offer would come to the table, anything short of a fully guaranteed contract. But now a little bit of a wrench thrown in this situation, where Lamar Jackson tweeted this morning that he requested a trade from Baltimore on March 2nd. The fact that Lamar Jackson is bringing that to the table and is bringing that to the forefront of everyone's minds shows me that Lamar Jackson is ready to be out. If he had any interest of being back in Baltimore, I don't think he would be saying thank you to Baltimore. I'll always love you, basically saying his goodbye to Baltimore. So I think now it makes it a lot more interesting. Now, in my mind, where I originally thought Lamar Jackson would be back in Baltimore, now I'm not so quite sure. So if he's not going to be in Baltimore, why not Tennessee? What would be worth Lamar Jackson and what wouldn't be worth giving up for Lamar Jackson? First and foremost, what would make me a little bit hesitant is Lamar Jackson's injuries. The fact that he has ended the last 2 seasons on the bench with an injury. That has been the number one priority for this team in the offseason, is getting rid of guys who haven't been completely available and bringing in guys that can help you and be available and don't have a track record of being injured. So that is one thing, is Lamar Jackson's injury history over the last couple of years is a little unsettling.
Yeah, it is. But, if I'm not mistaken, all these injuries happen within the pocket. And that, too, can be another, red flag for the Titans, because they haven't truly solidified their offensive line. It wasn't as if Lamar got hurt doing the things that he does, meaning getting outside the pocket, running, and being that dynamic, two-way quarterback. He got hurt within the pocket. The last one, he's trying to maneuver outside of the pocket because he's getting rushed and got tackled and landed on his knee. It was a grade, 2 or 3 sprain, somewhere around there. So it's not like we're looking at Lamar and we're saying, well, because of the way he plays, he gets hurt. Nah, he didn't get hurt because of the way he played. He get hurt because of the lack of the offensive line doing their job. But then people are going to say, well, we don't have enough offensive line yet. And I get you. But I think if the deal was done right, because right now, as much as I believed Tim last week, and as much as I believe Willy last week, the week before that now, this letter, that sort of letter/tweet that he put out, it's all, to me, it's a done deal. Because now the only way you go back is if they give you what you want. And it doesn't seem like Baltimore is going to give him what he wants. Now, if no other team facilitates, if no other team, jumps in and say, hey, listen, we're going to work out a deal to try to get Lamar, or let's work on a trade, then he's stuck. And it seems as if, at this point in time, he's going to be a Baltimore Raven.
I think that's been the
I don't
reality.
say 100% anymore. I say maybe sort of like 90%. But Baltimore, like you said, Willie, Baltimore has the leverage in this situation. Why? Because he's a restrictive. They already put the tag on him. Mm-hmm. And any team that wants him have to give up a lot for him. And Baltimore's just going to sit back and wait, regardless of what he puts out. But there's animosity with the team already with Lamar.
I think this is what it comes down to. Are you willing to overpay for Lamar Jackson? That's what it comes down to. In some way, shape, or form. With salary, and with compensation. Are those two things together worth moving mountains, whatever it's going to take to get him? I come back if I'm the Titans and say no. And I think most of the teams are in that position. And the Ravens, they don't have to do that. They're just sitting back and saying, okay, Lamar, you're setting it. We're going to find out what the market is. We're waiting for the phone to ring. You wait for your phone to ring. If they call you and make you an offer, great, we'll deal with that. What you feel like you deserve, and we'll move on. It's pretty simple.
But I think that's where the tweak comes into play. Of now it's not just about, is there a team out there willing to put an offer forth for Lamar Jackson? Now it's, is Lamar Jackson going to do whatever it takes to be out of Baltimore? Because I think that that felt like a very definitive goodbye and thank you to Baltimore. So is now Lamar Jackson saying, look, I just want out of Baltimore. Now is it at the point of, it doesn't even matter if there's somebody willing to put an offer on the table. Lamar just wants out. I would say that what it would cost, like let's say a trade, for example. You can trade Tannehill to Baltimore. I think that's another thing that makes Tennessee an attractive trade partner with Baltimore, is Baltimore would be getting a legitimate starting quarterback in return. I don't think the Baltimore Ravens want to trade Lamar Jackson for picks and then they don't know who their starting quarterback is in 2023. I think the Baltimore Ravens want to continue to be competitive with the team that they have, and so they want a legitimate starting quarterback in return. Ryan Tannehill's not going to be their starting quarterback for the next 5 to 10 years, like I'm sure they probably wanted Lamar Jackson to be, but they have a legitimate starting quarterback in 2023. So that makes the Titans an attractive trade partner. And also, the Titans have expressed the desire to get some of the contracts off of their books of either Derrick Henry and Kevin Byard. If you package a trade of Ryan Tannehill and either Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry or Ryan Tannehill and Kevin Byard, if I'm the Baltimore Ravens, I'm interested. If Lamar Jackson wants out, if he is so unhappy that he is going to make both his life and the Baltimore Ravens' lives a living hell this offseason because he is so unhappy, if I'm Baltimore, that seems like a pretty attractive trade in my opinion. I'm not saying I want the Titans to do that. I'm not saying the Titans are going to do that. But I'm saying those are all options available for the Titans if they do want to truly pursue Lamar Jackson without putting an offer on the table to the Baltimore Ravens and giving up those 2 first-round picks.
Well, I think there is an opportunity if the Titans wanted to go down that road. There is an opportunity to put together whatever deal. If it doesn't consist of me, the Titans, working out financial gains for Lamar and then presenting that to the Baltimore Ravens, that wouldn't be good for the Tennessee Titans because, again, Baltimore, it seems like if you put that deal out there, we're going to match it. That's just what we're going to do. And because now the market has set, the market has been set for Lamar Jackson, and you said it, Tennessee, thank you. But if Tennessee chooses to go the other route, saying, listen, your guy want out, and I don't think Baltimore would go that route unless it got them back more than what they were going to get in a sign and trade, you know? So if it doesn't give them more than what they would have gotten if you worked out the deal and then presented it to Lamar, if it's not going to give us more back, then we're not messing with it. But if it's going to give us more back, whether it be Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry, which may not be – Derrick Henry may not be the guy that the Baltimore Ravens want because they got a gut 1-2 punch already at running back. Now they may look at Derrick Henry and say, listen, we can get 2 more good years out of him. We'll love to have the king. All right, take him. But it has to be something that they get a quarterback, say they get Derrick Henry in also, but then they got to give up a pick too. You have to. Whether it be your first round this year or your first round next year. And it may take something else to facilitate that trade. If you're willing to do that, then okay. But I don't think the Ravens would be willing to do that. Because, again, they may not, in their minds, they may feel we're not getting back enough. Unless we're getting 2 first-round picks, Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry. Now, okay, that's it. Yeah. No. But what I'm saying is, or your first this year, and maybe your second next year in those 2 guys.
I don't think the Ravens would have any interest in trading for Derrick Henry.
And that's what I'm saying. It's just like, would they really be that interested? Now, Kevin Byard, that may be a different story. If you add Kevin Byard and Ryan Tannehill to the equation and then go for first this year, second next year, that may be a deal that puts them in a situation where they say, okay, let's sit down and think about this, meaning the Baltimore Ravens.
And one more thing that I think the Titans have to seriously consider, or any other team that could potentially trade for Lamar Jackson, something that all of these teams have to keep in mind that have become much more pronounced over the last couple of weeks. And I want to get into that coming up next. And, of course, I've been promising phones, and I promise phones coming up next. 615-737-1025. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025-1063. The Game.
The crowd is standing on its feet. It's in the hole! It's in the hole!
Join 1025 The Game for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament, benefiting Souls for Souls, June 7th at Hermitage Golf Course. Put your team together and come play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebs.
See the ball.
Support a great cause and have loads of fun. Plus, you'll have the chance to win awesome prizes. Sign up to play, sponsor, or donate at theGameNashville.com/golf.
There's never a good time for your furnace to go out, especially in the winter. But it's always a good time to call Lee Company. Our heating and air conditioning pros are available 24/7. No heat? Don't wait. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000. Our expert technicians will diagnose the issue and fix it right the first time. When you're cold, you need someone you can count on to bring the heat. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
The team at Mercedes-Benz of Music City have done it again. Here's Edwin Vickery to explain.
4-time recipient of Best of the Best. Less than 10% of the dealers in the country receive this award. How did you do it? We say culture, eat strategy for lunch, because we can strategize all we want, but unless you have the right culture and chemistry in the dealership, it will not work.
Live the dream at Mercedes-Benz of Music City, mbofmc.com.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, Willie Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. And a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Hey, it's John Tesh. Let me give you a little advice when shopping for auto and home insurance. All those insurance company ads use cute and funny characters for one reason: to distract you from realizing you're only getting one option, since that's all they offer. And all those average savings are just hype, since they never tell you how many people they actually helped. So you end up wasting time getting one quote at a time, hoping to be one of those lucky people. Well, not at Zander Insurance. They have built a system like no other. Zander shops over 24 top-rated companies to find you the best rate. Best of all, they keep reviewing your coverage every year to make sure your rates stay competitive. Nobody else does that. Call 800-356-1780 or compare online at Zander.com and find out why Zander clients stay with them year after year. It's just the smarter way to compare and save. No cute and funny characters needed. That's 800-356-1780 or visit Zander.com.
Start your day with a cup of Joe. Ugh, he's gonna think that's stupid.
Wait, what?
Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexrode are Robbie and Rexrode. There, that sounds better.
Thank you so much.
Weekdays from 6 to 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I haven't seen the tweet. It's an ongoing process. I'm following it very closely, just like everybody else is here, and looking forward to a resolution. I'm excited thinking about Lamar all the time, thinking about him as our quarterback. We're building our offense around that idea, and I'm just looking forward to getting back to football, and I'm confident that's going to happen.
There you go. That was Ravens head coach John Harbaugh this morning at the NFL owners' meetings as he was up at the podium talking about the future of the Baltimore Ravens, talking about how he was confident that Lamar Jackson was going to be back in Baltimore. Lamar Jackson takes to Twitter and said that he has requested a trade from the Baltimore Ravens. So, I mean, this whole Lamar Jackson situation has just been bizarre and outrageous over the last few weeks. Which brings me to the next point about if the Titans were to get involved in Lamar Jackson's sweepstakes, or something that was probably at the forefront of the minds of any team that would be interested in going after Lamar Jackson, is how has the last few weeks affected his value? And how much are teams really going to be willing to get into bed with Lamar Jackson, understanding that he doesn't have an agent, and how that has kind of reared its ugly head over the last few weeks. It honestly is something that I don't think has really been a big deal at all for Lamar in his entirety of his career. But now that he's gotten to this point of, you know, the non-exclusive franchise tag, demanding a fully guaranteed contract, and then it comes out that his buddy and business partner, who is an unauthorized agent under the NFLPA, has been calling NFL franchises to persuade them to put in an offer about Lamar Jackson. And now he's taking to Twitter, basically saying goodbye to Baltimore and sharing that he requested a trade. I wonder if there's now a more sour taste in the mouths of NFL general managers and head coaches about Lamar Jackson, just about everything that has unfolded of him without an agent. Because I think that things would have gone a whole lot differently for Lamar if he did have an agent that he's able to bounce things off of, that he's an agent that's able to do the negotiating and kind of the dirty work behind the scenes. And he has an agent to say, hey, no, Lamar, maybe let's stay off of Twitter. You know, maybe let's not air this to the public. Let's keep all of our negotiations behind closed doors. I do wonder if now I don't want to say his reputation has changed, because I don't think it has. I think Lamar Jackson is still overall a good guy and is a really good quarterback. But now are people and GMs, teams, franchises a little bit more turned off about Lamar Jackson, considering that they'd be doing these negotiations without an agent? Well,
Turned off, I'm not sure is the right word, but I think if I'm another team, I'd be sitting there going, does this give us an opportunity to get a much better deal on Lamar Jackson? Whereas if it was before and you're like, well, I got to do all the work, I got to overpay to a point where they're not going to match it, you know, that game that we had. Now with this, my wheels would be turning, okay, can I get him for less? Or like you were saying, what if we threw in Tannehill? Or what if we threw in, you know, could you get a better deal that way? That's one thing. But if I'm in Lamar Jackson's camp and I'm advising him, it's not just, like, why you have an agent isn't just all of the nuts and bolts of the deal, right? That's a big chunk of it. But it's also how we plan this. You know, hey, should I tweet this out? You know, the agent might say, hold on, Lamar, I'm not sure if you want to do that. Like, I don't know what the effects of this tweet are going to be, if anything. But the essential question is, by doing this, what has he done to his eventual end game? Like, has he helped his value? Has he hurt his value? Or does this have no effect at all on his situation? Him just, you know, deciding to go on Twitter and press send. Because he did it. It's out there. Yeah. Now what's the result?
Going back.
It may not do anything to the situation. The Ravens could just sit there and go, all right, do whatever you want, Lamar. But if he is trying to burn the bridge and saying, I am not playing for the Ravens, that's it. Does that get him the deal that he's looking for? I don't know.
I go back to two people in for some reason I can't remember the first guy's name. One has to do with basketball, one has to do with football. I think everyone knows about the Le'Veon Bell thing. You know, him holding out and him and he didn't want a guaranteed contract. It was just he wanted X amount of dollars. And he chose to go a different route. And it never worked out for Le'Veon Bell after he chose not to, you know, take the contract that Pittsburgh was offering. And listen, he felt he was worth more, and he had a right to feel that way. But ultimately, you know, he was not able to recoup the money that he ended up losing. And now he's not in the NFL no more any longer. because of injuries and stuff like that. But he left as the kids say, a bag on the table. He left a couple of bags on the table. And because he thought in his mind, I'm worth X amount of dollars. And again, I'm all with the player saying, hey, listen, I'm worth this, because you're the one out there getting your body beat up. You're the one that has to go through this emotional and physical sort of roller coaster, throughout a whole season. The player has to do that. So for me to sit here and say, well, you're not, again, for me to sit here and say you're not worth what you're asking for would be, ludicrous of me to say, because I know what actually goes on. But you also got to understand, you may think you're worth that, somebody else may not, and in Le'Veon Bell's case, a lot of other teams said, you know what, you're not worth it, buddy. And he ended up losing out on a bunch of money. I forget the guy in the NBA. The LA Lakers offered him $80-something million guaranteed. Basketball money's guaranteed. It was going to give him not a max contract, but it was 3 years, $80-something million guaranteed. He said, no, he bet on himself. Said, no, I'm worth more than that. I don't want that deal. He's never gotten a deal close to that. He's still playing, but he's never gotten a deal close to that, to what he left on the table with the LA Lakers.
It's a gamble.
I say all of this to say this. Lamar, yes, you believe you're worth whatever it is you think in your mind you're worth. And I'm not here to tell you you're not. But again, you got to understand, there are 31 other teams or 32 teams that may not think the way you think. So are you so hell-bent on sitting back and waiting for someone to pay you $250 million guaranteed? Are you waiting on that? Because if you're waiting on that, the signs are pointing toward you will never get that. So while you, and it seems like you don't want to play under the tag that Baltimore has you under, you want to be out of there. So it's either you take a shorter deal that's guaranteed, or you take a longer deal where some of it is guaranteed, but not all of it. And it seems like Lamar is not ready to go down that road of give me a $350 million contract where 200 of it is guaranteed. He wants it all. And I'm like, okay.
And I don't blame Lamar for setting his worth high. That's how you do negotiations. You set the price super, super high, and then you go from there. I don't blame Lamar for saying my worth is this. I also can't blame the Baltimore Ravens for saying, actually, no, it's not. We don't see it that way. And that's where I think an agent would behoove Lamar Jackson, is to say, look, it's business on both sides. It's nothing against you personally. Let's get to your phones. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Ben Texan and said the Ravens could end up not getting anything for Lamar if this goes on long enough and he doesn't play. Lamar has all the leverage because he can sit until he gets paid. So any team, as long as he has a non-exclusive franchise tag, it's my understanding that all the teams in the league have until July 17th to put an offer forward for Lamar Jackson. If there is not an offer on the table, or the Ravens meet that offer, then they're locked into that non-exclusive franchise tag contract. After that, after they're locked in, that's when kind of it's all done. It's over with. So I would disagree and say that the Baltimore Ravens really have all of the leverage here. Because right now, Lamar just has to sit back and wait for the offers to come. That's when the Ravens can decide, well, match it or see ya. So I think the Ravens really have all the leverage here.
Because he doesn't have a contract, right? He's a free agent.
No, he has a contract. The contract, he has the franchise contract, which means he can't go to any other team unless that team offers him a contract. And the Ravens either say, okay, we don't want to match that, but this is what we want in a return. Or the Ravens will match it.
So, but in theory, he could say, or the Ravens could say, you're under contract to play for the franchise tag.
He can't go anywhere. He's stuck with the Ravens. He can't go. Yeah.
Right. No, I understood that he's a restricted free agent, but I'm saying, like, what happens if the phone just never rings and you get to July 17th? Is he under the franchise tag?
Yep.
So he's not technically
locked in.
A still free agent status. He is under contract at the franchise tag?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
He is under contract. Unless there is an offer that can come forward, that's when the Ravens have the ability to match it or to send him away. Once July 17th hits, they're locked in. It's under their cap. the Ravens are locked in, and Lamar Jackson's locked in under that contract. So Lamar Jackson can say, I'm not playing for you.
Yeah.
That's fine. The Ravens will just fine Lamar Jackson, and then it's the relationships have soured, and
he still
that's really
can't go
where
anywhere.
it's- that he still can't go.
See, that's what I didn't even realize is that the that deal is done. Like that's what happens.
Yeah.
You don't have to still continue to fight and negotiate. I mean, I guess you could, but he's locked in at that franchise tag. That's not a lot of leverage. I mean, maybe that's what I wondered when I read the tweet. I thought it was a little bit of just frustration. I'm just frustrated. I got to do something. I'm tweeting. Because I mean, he's got to see that this isn't unfolding the way he hoped that it would. But I think we all knew that this is where it was going to go.
Probably, this is how I interpret it, Lamar Jackson probably thought, man, the Ravens are going to be sorry because the offers are going to be flowing in. And now I'm sure the ego's hurt a little bit because the offers aren't flowing in. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. And hey, Joy, 1025 The Game and the Preds Energy Team at Brewhouse South in Cool Springs this Thursday, March 30th for the Preds Road Watch Party as your Nashville Predators take on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Stop by and enjoy Brewhouse South's 70 beers on tap, classic American menu, along with Cajun, Southwestern, Island comfort food. That is 1025 The Game and Preds Energy Team at Brewhouse South in Cool Springs. 1025, 1063 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Willy Donick here for Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. The official 2022 stats are in, and the Pella brand is rated #1 by Nashville homeowners for windows and doors. One reason, Nashville homeowners selected Pella Windows #1 for the highest quality craftsmanship. Another key stat, Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville is also rated #1 for the brand that stands behind their product. If you need new doors or windows, the choice is clear. Choose the experts at Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Go to PellaofNashville.com.
Now, your Game Center update.
This is Nick Keyser. Trouble with the Toronto Maple Leafs last night here in Nashville. John Tavares scored twice, leading Toronto to a 3-2 victory. And in the process, forward Matt Duchene was left hurt with an upper body injury, leaving his status as week to week. Head coach John Hines on his young team and the opportunities they've had here lately.
They're doing a good job, and sometimes there's a bad night. But as I said, I think it's a great experience. It's really fun coaching them. They're competitive guys. I think a lot of them are taking advantage of their opportunities. The team's playing competitive hockey.
And the Final Four in the NCAA men's tournament has been set with action to tip off here this Saturday. Number 9, Florida Atlantic will take on number 5, San Diego State, and will battle for their first national championship appearance for either school, while number 5, Miami, will take on number 4, UConn. And the NFL owners, head coaches, and GMs of each franchise are out in Biltmore, Arizona until tomorrow afternoon, assessing the state of the league and a whole lot more. You're listening to 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 1025 and 106.3.
A betting performance. Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willy Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personalities of all time.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. We are live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios, streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook Sports. TD, Teron Davenport, will join us in 1 hour. Got a whole lot of Titans news. Mike Vrabel spoke at the NFL owners meetings. We'll get you all of that information. We will get TD's thoughts on all of that as well. But it was a wild weekend. Madness, if you will. A wild weekend of college basketball in the NCAA tournament over the weekend. And we now have our Final Four set. We have Miami, FAU. We have, why am I drawing a blank here? Miami, FAU, UConn, and
UConn?
Miami,
FAU, UConn,
FAU,
and San
UConn,
Diego State.
San Diego State. Thank you. My goodness.
I was
can't
trying to
keep those four straight.
and San Diego State.
My goodness, but
I
think
North Carolina. Oh, wait a minute. No, none of those made
no,
it.
no Kansas, no Alabama,
Kentucky,
no 1 seed.
UCLA. What? None of them made it.
And I want to get into all of those matchups and just how bizarre is maybe not the right word, but how unique this year's Final Four is.
I mean, in college football, you could never have this. This will never happen in college football. It'll always be the top power conferences that have the playoff teams. Now, they're going to change the format where you might have they'll get a little invite to the party, but it's so unlikely that pick whoever, the Boise State at their top, would go all the way to the finals or even the Final Four in this new playoffs. So do we like this in college basketball? Because it's much more likely to happen now and going forward than it did 15, 20 years ago. It's interesting.
In the era of the transfer portal and especially NIL.
Yep.
Now NIL has incentivized some of the top players in the country to go where they traditionally wouldn't. Whereas a 5-star best player in the country would go to Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, Kentucky. And now they're going to an FAU because they have the opportunities there. I'd
be curious. Does FAU have anybody that has NIL? I don't know.
That's a good question. I have no idea.
I don't think so. Like they don't. Their profile. They don't have a lot of transfers. So I would love to hear. I hope this week maybe we learn a little bit more how they built their team, because it might be just a really unique Cinderella story. 35-3, unbelievable.
Wild.
But if I look, I just took a glance at their roster. They don't have a lot of transfers. They don't have a lot of guys who were at X school and then got kicked out of school or anything like that. It's not like that. Now, Miami, I know they got into the NIL. Like, they got some sugar daddies down there. And remember, there was a couple of their players saying, you got to pay me this or I'm leaving. And so I think they ponied up. So they're getting some bang for the buck. I don't know about UConn or San Diego State in that respect, but it's a really unique group of teams.
So, Willie, really quickly here, because Conference USA student right here. So, when I left, they started implementing NIL programs across the conference.
Okay.
FAU does have one. I just looked it up. It is called FAU Owls Marketplace. So essentially what you have going on all of these Conference USA schools is they'll have an app or a website or something to help them use these resources for their personal use. They can, you can use your agent if you have one, but this website, this app, will help you do that on your own too. So they could have something, may not be that publicized, but a lot of them probably do have deals.
Well,
so
that would be great. But I'm just wondering, are we talking, $50,000, $25,000, extra spending money, which would all be great? Or are we talking like Miami? The guy, we heard about
Jaden Rashada.
Jaden Rashada. So what happened there? He was going to Miami. Florida tried to one-up it, and they said, we'll give you $13 million. And that got Miami out of the picture. Miami was like, we're not paying that much. And then Florida couldn't come up with the money. So if Miami is in that game, I wonder. I love the idea, NIL, exactly what you're saying, Nick. To me, that's what it should be. Some grassroots. Let's see what's out there. Let's look at opportunities and see if we can get a little extra spending money where we are. And not what we're seeing at the college football level for quarterbacks and things like that. I mean, we're not in that.
Different.
But for college basketball, certain guys, they'll throw their name into the ring and say, what would you pay me to come to your school?
And I think Miami, of the group of four, the Final Four, San Diego State, FAU, UConn, and Miami is really that school that needs to be in the NIL space to be competitive.
Yes.
Because it's the Power 5 conferences, the Big Tens, the SECs, the ACCs that are competing for recruits, and they're competing because of a large part because of NIL money. So Miami absolutely has to live in that space. And I'm not saying that the FAUs and the UConns and the San Diego States don't. It's just not at that level. But I do wonder, is this a good thing or a bad thing for college basketball? And is it indicative in any way of the direction in which college basketball is going? Because at this point, UConn, in the last 25 years, UConn's been to more Final Fours than Kansas or Duke or North Carolina. UConn's been to more than your traditional classic blue bloods. And now you've got a team like FAU where I don't know if the general population of the United States even knew that was a school that existed before the tournament. So is this a good thing that it's bringing in new fans, that it's, new names and new competitors in the Final Four? Or is the general basketball watching population going to be totally checked out because you don't have a Coach K's last game UNC Duke matchup in the Final Four?
I think it's just like everything else. Things evolve, and either you're going to adapt to it or you're going to get left behind. This whole NIL thing has really, you have really seen it make a drastic change in basketball, not necessarily football, even though you do have your NIL deals out there, but it hasn't taken a team that was, at the bottom, and now, all of a sudden they get these NIL deals, and now they're the number one team in the country. Hell, Texas A&M tried it, and it still didn't work for them, and they got guys leaving left and right. All these players they so-called brought in with these deals, it didn't work for them. But in basketball, I think you're starting to see it shift. You're starting to see it more of a level playing field for certain schools. Not necessarily during the regular season, because these FAU is not going to play a UConn or a Duke unless they've set it up, years in advance. But you notice it once they get into the tournament. Now you see that, you start pointing at all these transfers. Kansas State had a few transfers. They were a team that was not good, I think, last year, the year before that, and all of a sudden they found themselves in an Elite Eight, because of some of the transfers that they brought in. You're going to start to see this more and more in basketball. Not necessarily in football, but you're going to start to see this more and more in basketball because now, you may have the top recruiting class. Kentucky may have the top recruiting class in the country in 2023. But if those guys ain't playing, where they're going in 2024? Somewhere else to play in whatever team they go to, an FAU, a San Diego State, a Kansas State, some of these other schools that we may not watch week in and week out. Come tournament time, we're going to know who they are because they've gotten these transfer players that were Division I players, top 5, top recruits that were not playing at other universities. Now they're leaving and going, getting money somewhere else, and they're taking these teams from, maybe a 5th place in their own conference to winning their conference, and now you find them in the Final Four. It's going to happen more times than not moving forward.
Yeah, it's redefining how you build teams. The old
Kentucky, Coach McDevitt said it.
Yeah, Coach McDevitt had a great point just from where he said Middle Tennessee. Now, I do think that there will be places where if you can build a good environment and develop players, I think that is a way to win. But there's also a way to win of just hitting the portal every year, right? He said there would be, probably 2,000 players in the portal, and it's going up every year, right? Yeah. And there's still a log jam from COVID and the extra eligibility that some of these guys got. So you got like 23-year-old players who are 5 years older than a high school kid available to come to your school to help you out. You need a point guard for 1 year? Okay, just hit the portal. There might be a couple guys in there that have played 4 years of college basketball, grad transfers. So it's crazy. And even before the portal, think about college basketball, some of the schools that have made the Final Four. George Mason with Jim Larinaga took them years ago. Remember, they beat UConn to get to the Final Four. That was, I forget what year, 08, 09, somewhere in there. Loyola Chicago made the Final Four. Wichita State, VCU. I mean, so there's always been that path in college basketball, which has been fun. But now it's probably even more random. Like it's hard to build that powerhouse team with 5 returning starters. You don't see that as much anymore.
And I the way that I look at it, the way that the Final Four has shaped out, I feel like the way that I feel about it, and maybe the other sports fans, diehard sports fans, especially college basketball diehard fans, is I love it. I think it's great, and I think it's fun to have some variety. It's fun to have parity. I think the same way that a whole lot of people feel about Alabama fatigue in the college football playoff, we all feel about Kansas fatigue or Duke fatigue or UNC fatigue. It's fun to see these Cinderellas be so successful and not just get by in the first round like a Furman beating a Virginia, upsetting the Virginia in a first round and getting bounced in the second round, but making it all the way to the end. But I think overall, maybe the way that CBS may view it, or just the general population that aren't diehard fans, they probably hate this. Because you look at last year, UNC and Duke in the Final Four in Coach K's last game, I don't know how you could script something better. So I think that viewership absolutely will dip because you don't have the reputations carrying these teams into the Final Four. I think CBS is probably thinking, oh, no, we couldn't have had a single 1 or 2 or 3 seed in the Final Four. So I think that overall as a population, they're probably viewing it like, oh, who cares about, FAU and UConn? But I think we all as sports fans love the parody. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. The most controversial part of the weekend. How do we feel about it, and how do you feel about it as well? 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll get into that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
We are your home for every big pass.
Kevin Harvick takes over the race lead.
Big wreck.
Trouble turn 2. One car is around and hard into the outside wall.
And big win.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has won the Daytona 500.
Yeah! Woo!
Catch every lap of NASCAR on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, let's tell you about Loan Pronto. Once again, here is the message they're giving. If you are a veteran, I want to give you a heads up. If you're a veteran, do you have a VA loan? In this housing market, homeowners with VA loans have access to a ton of instant cash. So if you need cash to pay off credit cards and other high-interest loans, how does a check for 80 or 90 grand sound right now? Loan Pronto is helping veterans every day get the money they need with a quick and easy zero-cost cash-out refi with zero closing costs. With a VA loan, it's really cool because you can access up to 100% of your home's value. Use that money to pay off credit cards, home equity lines, car loans, consolidate all your payments into one check per month, and you can close in 2 weeks. So most homeowners who do this end up cutting their overall monthly payments by about $800 per month. So call now and see what the options are. If you're a veteran, call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. 615-499-5780 is the phone number, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Men, this is Evan Bass with the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and I've been helping men with sexual health issues for many years. I've seen the pain and anxiety that men walk into the clinic with when erectile dysfunction is affecting them. And I also know the heartache and difficulty it can bring to their partner. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we've been successfully treating men for ED for many years now. We've seen the amazing impacts that those treatments have on a man's confidence and positivity. And we've seen the wonderful things those treatments also do for a man's relationship. That's why I'm pleased to announce that we are now offering the same great services we offer at our Nashville clinic at our new location in Franklin, which will make it much more convenient for those men living south of Nashville to get treated. So call us today and book your appointment at our Midtown location or at our new clinic in Cool Springs. Your first visit is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects, treatments, extra results vary.
Gary Ashton here. People walk up to me all the time and say, don't sell without the intel. This message couldn't be more true. Right now, it's a fantastic time to buy or sell your home in Nashville, but you can't do it without the intel. No one has more intel than the Gary Ashton team. So what is this intel we keep hearing about? Intel so you can sell your home without stagings or showings? Intel on where to find your next home so that you can sell your current home while the market is hot? And intel that helps you win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity. For more intel, visit GaryAshton.com. where we can give you the insight and the most up-to-date real estate intel in Nashville. Plus, the Gary Ashton team is the official real estate team of the Nashville Predators. Get the confidence to sell your home and find the dream address without the stress. Visit us today at GaryAshton.com. That's GaryAshton.com. And remember, don't sell without the intel.
Looking for a career with purpose or have that passion for youth development? Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee provides a safe place where youth gain the tools to learn, lead, and reach their full potential. And that starts with you, offering competitive pay and free after-school care for employees. Learn more at bgcmt.org.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Ford. Have you ever thought to yourself, buying a car online? That sounds like a nightmare. But fear not, my friends. With Newton FastPass, it's easier than catching a leprechaun. In fact, our system is so user-friendly that even a leprechaun can do it. And let me tell you, those little guys are notoriously bad with technology. Also, with Newton FastPass, you're practically guaranteed to get a great deal. It's like finding a 4-leaf clover in a field of overpriced cars. And who doesn't love a good deal? I mean, I'd be willing to bet that even the most skeptical among us would feel lucky to snag a great deal on a new car. That's not all. When you use Newton FastPass, we'll throw in a free leprechaun to help you navigate the process. And trust me, these little guys know their way around a car deal. Just be sure to keep an eye on them because they can be a little mischievous. So what are you waiting for? Visit NewtonFord.com and join the ranks of lucky car buyers. You might even feel like you're living in your own personal pot of gold. And remember, with Newton FastPass, you're always in luck.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025thegame and on Instagram at 1025thegame Nashville.
Hey!
Oh yeah, and like us on Facebook too. Having some fun in the midday.
Okay, that's really fun.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
It's a good source of energy because it's live.
On 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025, 1063, The Game, and the Game Nashville app. Hey, join 1025 The Game for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament benefiting Souls for Souls on June 7th at Hermitage Golf Course. Put your team together and come play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebrities to support a great cause and have loads of fun. Plus, you'll have the chance to win awesome prizes. So sign up to play, sponsor, or donate at thegamenashville.com/golf. Breaking down March Madness, and I want to get all of your thoughts on the Final Four, the strange Final Four that we have. San Diego State, Florida Atlantic, UConn, and Miami. Mountain West making their very first appearance into the Final Four with their representative from San Diego State. So really exciting and fun if you are a nerd for some of the underdogs. And if you're not, then probably not a great one for you. But I would say the most controversial part of the weekend was the ending of the San Diego State-Creighton game. So we know it comes down to the wire. It's a tie game at 56-56. And this was a physical game. I would say for the most part, the refs kind of let some things fall, weren't calling all the things that they probably could have. It comes down to the final second of the game. Refs call a foul on a Creighton player, which it was a foul, to be fair. But that ultimately decided the game. San Diego State gets on the foul line, shoot a free throw. That ultimately ends the game. San Diego State wins 57-56 to punch their ticket to the Final Four. I will throw the question out there, and I will give my thoughts. Should they have called that? Was that the right call?
I think this is the point that a lot of basketball people have made today, and I think it's a good one. In a vacuum, can that be called a foul? 100%. That could be a foul. Right? If I have my hand on your hip, even if I'm guiding you a little bit, subtly, I could be affecting your shot. That can be called a foul. What a lot of basketball people, even some officials, have said is, has that been a foul for the first 39 minutes and 50 seconds? And people have pointed out that they had let a lot go in that game. And so as a player, if you've been playing the entire game and you and I are guarding each other, Derek, and you've been hand-checking me a little bit, I've been hand-checking you, and that's what's been going on. That's how the refs are calling it. That's how we're playing. And so on the last call, if I've been guarding you the same way the whole game, then why should that be a foul? That's the argument, I think, for why that should be a no call. It's not hey, it's the end of the game, let them play. To me, it's the best argument is, how has it been called all game long? You got to stay consistent.
Yeah, you have to stay consistent. But in that situation, the defender had gotten beat.
That's another great point. That point must be said.
And I can see if they were, the defender was in a good defensive position, and the guy went up for the shot, and they both went up, and there's no advantage either way. But when you're at a disadvantage, the defender was at a disadvantage. He got clearly beat off the dribble. Once you put that hand on that guy's hip and extend it a little bit, it throws his shot off. And I forget who was calling the game, but he made a good point. He said, listen, you can't say, and I know that's not the argument, but you can't say, well, it's the last minute of the game, you got to let it go. You can't make that call. Well, if that is indeed the case, now you're penalizing the offensive player for making a good move to the basket, beating his defender, putting his defender at a disadvantage, going up for a shot. Now you're saying you're penalizing him for doing his job instead of saying, okay, he got beat, he chose to push the guy by the hip, and it's a foul.
Yeah.
Regardless of how you see it or say it or whatever, it's a foul. I got to call it.
Yeah, it's Jim Spanarkel, the former Duke player, who is a very good analyst. Iron Eagle, Jim Spanarkel, that's been a tandem that CBS has used for a long time. I do think that is a really good point, and that's why I think that, look, you can bellyache if you're Creighton, but I don't think you get robbed. It's not to that level. That's a 50-50. And when you get beat, the ref knows you got beat. And if you got your hand out there and it's on there, like maybe he has it for a second, pulls back, he kept his hand on his hip.
Exactly.
For an extra, 1,001. You put those two together, it doesn't have to be much contact. I don't have a problem with the call. And if he had let it go, I wouldn't have a problem with that either. You know what I mean?
Yeah, either way. But he made the call.
But if you're the defender and you reach out and you're beat, if they call a foul on you, you cannot complain. You can't act like you got ripped off. That's a 50. You're putting it in the hands of the ref.
Exactly.
The ref calls it. That's a 50-50. So you can't complain either way.
I would agree. If I'm Creighton, I can't stand back and say the refs totally ruined this game for us. But the way that I feel about it, I'll be consistent all the way going back to a couple months ago. The Super Bowl is the same kind of idea. Philadelphia was called for a holding call, and that ultimately ended the Super Bowl. It didn't decide the Super Bowl, but the game ultimately ended there. Even after not a single defensive holding had been called that entire game. Now, was it a holding? Yes, it was a textbook holding. But Jay Wright was kind of talking about this in the post game. Was it a foul on Creighton? Yes, it was a foul. It was a textbook foul that he got in the middle, or he interfered with the guy on offense and making his shot with the San Diego State player. He interfered with the San Diego State player. But Jay Wright was saying when you're a coach and when you're a player, you get a feeling for how the game goes. You get a feeling for how the game is called, and you go from there. If they're being really stingy, then you probably play a little bit more conservatively. If they're letting things go, then you just go for it. You just play the same way the game has been called all day long. So what is a foul? Was it a foul? Yes. Should you call fouls? Yes. But I think there also is an underlying way that games are called that it was going in a different direction. It was going in a different way.
They were letting him play.
They were letting him play, and to let the game ultimately end there, not be decided by that, but end there, it doesn't sit right with me.
It's a tough way to lose, but Derek, let's go back to your point. If San Diego State has not beaten the Creighton player on the play, then I would 100% agree with Jay Wright. But he was clearly beat. And you're trying to come back, and you're reaching back. I'm holding your hip. I'm not holding. It's not an egregious foul. And it hasn't been called much. But, like, if he were head up and you called a little tic-tac call on that, then I would say, come on, man. You haven't called that the whole game. But when the guy is beat, that's when you can't complain. I'm sorry.
Yeah, regardless if the game was tight or not. Once you get beat as a defender, now you put the game – what happens is now – you're at the mercy of the ref now because you didn't play sound defense. Just like we talked about the Alabama game when they lost. Like, they lost because why? The defender put himself in a bad position by jumping out there on a three-pointer and leaving a lane wide open, and they end up losing because of that. You play sound defense. Stay in front of your man. They're not going to call a foul. Even if the guy runs into you, they're not going to call a foul. They're just going to let it play. But the minute you get in a position where you can't guard the guy any longer and you're on his hip and you extend that arm as he's going up for a shot, it's a foul. 100 times out of 100.
Well, I still say it's 50-50 because you and I had this argument the day after the Super Bowl on this, right? Because I use the analogy of the playground, right? If you call that, it's game point, and you call a foul if a guy touches you on the hip like that call's not going over. Like you're going to get a lot of protests from the guys on the court. Like, wait a minute, I'm not giving you that foul. Like at the very least, you might have to shoot for it to get the ball back.
You got to shoot. Shoot.
So I wouldn't recommend calling that on the playground. But this is an NCAA tournament game. So to me, you just have to live with it. You have to live with it either way. 50-50. But, that's a tough way to lose. If I'm Creighton, I'm sitting there going, gosh, you call that right there. Oh,
but if you don't make, but if you don't make the call, San Diego State and their coaching staff is looking
they're
like
going crazy.
That is a foul. It's 100% a foul, and you didn't call it.
Okay. But also, I will, steal Joe Rexrode's tweet. If they didn't call it, we would have all been enjoying overtime, and it would have been a whole lot
It's about
more fun.
us, because it's about us as we want to be entertained.
It's about my entertainment value, which is awfully selfish of them to do. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. I know you've got a bunch of thoughts on that, so we'll get right into your phones coming up next. It's Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
Want a chance to win tickets to an upcoming Preds game?
Yes.
Tune in to Robbie and Rexrode every weekday Preds game day at 8:45 for Preds Pick to Click. Guess a goal scorer and win.
I'll take Roman Yossi.
Matt Duchesne. Pick to Click is brought to you by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Visit tjandersonhomes.com to see why they are referred so often. And by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Download their app today.
Preds Pick to Click.
We are 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, Willie Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. And a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. It's that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Ever tried to shop for a diamond online? They all look great on the computer screen, but the fact is, most reputable jewelers like Genesis Diamonds wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole.
These are the diamonds that nobody wants to buy. We call them the B-quality diamonds.
That's Genesis owner Boaz Ramon, who says that even diamonds with the same grade and specs on paper can be very different when you see them up close in person, especially the ones from online dealers.
Those diamonds gonna look always cloudy or dirty. It's like you're wearing your glasses and there is fingerprints all over the glass. You just don't understand, or nobody told you that the material that this diamond was cut from was not the best material.
Why risk it? At Genesis Diamonds, they screen thousands of diamonds and only choose the best of the best for maximum brilliance, sparkle, and luster. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
I'm Boaz Ramon, and my accent is always on value.
Social Furniture's Spring Home Makeover Sales event is going on now with the latest styles and colors in stock, ready for immediate delivery and setup. If you don't need a fancy schmancy showroom or the stress of a high-pressure sales team, but you don't want to pay high-quality prices, come to Social Furniture. All top-quality furniture and mattresses are on sale now. Don't miss this extreme home makeover sales event that's going on now at Social Furniture.
I shop at Social Furniture because of the way I'm treated.
That's Social Furniture on Charlotte Avenue.
The Game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Be a part of the conversation. Call or text the Game at 615-737-1025.
102.5 and 106.3, The Game is live and local.
And now, let's meet the starting lineups.
Robbie and Rexrode, 6 to 9.
You are talking about a team that's building a roster.
Chase and Michelle, 9 to 11.
He's still under contract.
It's not always X's and O's.
Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase, 11 to 2.
Trades, free agents.
Let's get it going. I think this is a good hire.
And Stillman and Company, 2 to 6.
I can give you one of the best coaches in the league.
And don't forget, we're your home for all things Nashville.
He scored!
Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3, The Game.
Hey, this is Ryan Johansson. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5, The Game.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. And hey, the Predators have a game tomorrow night, and it is your chance to participate in Preds Pick to Click, brought to you by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty and Superbook Sports. If you correctly guess a Predators player that scores a goal in the game tomorrow night, then you will win a pair of tickets to an upcoming Preds home game. Participate in Pick to Click tomorrow morning at 8:45 a.m. with Robbie and Rexrode. Just want to acknowledge this before we get into any further conversation, how inappropriate it feels for us to continue talking about sports and to continue to talk about something that just feels so insignificant compared to the tragedy that has occurred just across town. Again, there was a shooting at the Covenant School this morning. There are now 7 dead, including the active shooter. We will continue to keep everyone updated with everything that's going on at the Covenant School, but I just would like to acknowledge how inappropriate and icky, honestly, it feels to continue on with life, knowing that there are members of our community who are hurting and who are terrified. But we will continue with business as always, but also keep you updated with everything that's gone down at the Covenant School. Unless you have a thought, Derek?
Let's go to the lines.
Let's go to the phones. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Look, I don't think the foul should have been called. Mm-hmm. It was a foul. I get it. I know at the end of the San Diego State-Creighton game, it was a foul. And if you see a foul, you call a foul. But I think we all know that not every single game is called like that. Not every single game is played like that. I stood by that idea after the Super Bowl. I said, I understand it was a holding call. You hadn't called the defensive holding all day long. It's the Super Bowl, and that officially ended the Super Bowl. I don't think a game should be ended like that, especially a game with magnitude. And I will carry that same energy into this game. I know it was a foul. If you see a foul, you call a foul. But for a game to effectively be ended like that, with a trip to the Final Four on the line, I wouldn't have called it. D-Mase, but I think you stand by it.
Yeah, I stand by it. The defender put himself in a situation where he couldn't guard the shooter. He couldn't guard the guy that was taking the shot. Those last seconds. So when you do that, you leave the game in the hands of the officials, and he wasn't in the proper position to guard the guy, and you can't complain if then they call a foul because you have your hand on his hip and you extend your arm just a bit. Every guy, jump shooter, knows that when he goes up, if you get pushed just a little, it throws your shot off. So, I get people saying, well, no, they shouldn't have called those last. No, the defender put himself in a position where he left it up to the ref. If he stays in front of the guard, then even if he runs through him, it's a no call, and we're going into overtime. But because he wasn't in proper position, then, you leave it up to the ref to make a call or not make a call.
I totally hear you. And I'm not going to disagree with you or anybody else that thinks, no, it's a foul. You should have called a foul. Because in theory, in essence, that's what we all want, is for games to be fairly called and for refs to call fouls when they see a foul. But again, I'll go back to, I hate for a game with so much on the line, a trip to the Final Four on the line, and that's what effectively ends it when it's been a super physical game the entire time. It just pains me to see that. Let's go to your phones. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Jeff texts in and says, Derek beat me to the punch. The defender got eaten. I'm thinking of beaten, but eaten too, and should have played better defense.
Yeah, that's what it boils down to, and I understand what some people may be saying. Well, the game shouldn't end on a foul. But you can't penalize the offensive player because he made a quick move, and the defender wasn't in the proper defense position to stop the shot. It's not, you can't penalize me as a player, as an offensive player. You know, if I go up for the shot and he pushes me on my hip and my shot is thrown off, you call a foul. You know, you don't call a foul if he's in proper defensive position. But when you're not, like I said before, you leave it up to the ref to make a call or not make a call.
Another texter texts in, says the situation being discussed is a good example of where do you draw the line between sports and entertainment. I think that to a certain extent, but I also think that, I mean, going back before sports have become this massive conglomerate of millions and billions of dollars, is games are going to be called a certain way or not. I mean, yes, would the entertainment value of the game have been better if the foul wasn't called and the game went to overtime? Yes, of course. You know, of course, any game that goes to overtime with those stakes on the line, that's going to be more entertaining. That's going to get people to keep their TVs on. That's going to get people to turn their TVs on. That is the entertainment value of it. But I think it's also just inherently sports that referees and officials aren't perfect. They're not going to call a perfect game. And then it goes back, you know, to the beginning of sports, that games are called a certain way. You either got stingy refs, you either got super strict refs, or you got something right in the middle.
Yeah, and I think that game, for the most part, was, listen, we're going to allow them to play. But what is the rule on a guy that is a jump shooter? Never foul a jump shooter. Don't foul him on the shot. What did you do? You fouled him on a shot. Don't put yourself in a position where you got to reach or undercut a jump shooter. Don't do it. Hope that he misses the shot. Don't foul him and bail him out. And that's essentially what the guy did. He got beat, wasn't in proper defensive position, and he bailed the jump shooter out.
And that's what it is. And that's why I struggle between, that is literally the rules of the game, and also between, come on. You know, we all know that you've been calling the game a certain way. We all know that the refs aren't going to be perfect. Another texter texts in and says, the game on the court has changed, and that's why all of these small teams are winning. A good 4-guard team beats a good 2-guard, 2-forward, and a center lineup. I do think that there is a style of the game that has been changing, and that there are certain teams that have kind of just caught up and certain teams that are inherently going to fall behind. Like I'll look at Tennessee, for example. I think that their style of play inherently sets them back in some instances where they have one of the best defenses in the country. And that is what has propelled them to victory in so many games, but not having that offensive firepower that other teams play with, like an Alabama, that just kills you with the three every single game. I think that there's an inherent disadvantage at that.
Yeah, the game has changed, just like in football. You know, it went from being, you know, play really good defense and run the football to now we're just going to spread you out 4 or 5 wides and throw the ball across the yard. And, yeah, we're still running, but we're trying to score. We're trying to outscore you in hopes to stop you maybe once or twice, and then now we're going to win the game. You know, we're still looking to have a good defense, but we know even with a good defense, it's not going to hold the team below 21 points. Not every, you know, unless you're a Georgia defense they were historically really good. But for the most part, across the landscape of college football, they've adapted. Well, basketball is sort of the same thing. The three-pointer has now become the mid-range shot, and it's replaced the mid-range shot. Not too many times do you see a mid-range shot unless you're watching DeMar DeRozan, and he's shooting mid-ranges, you know, everywhere and banking them. But other than a few players, everybody's either driving it to the hole or shooting a three-pointer. That's just the way the game is. And if you have a team that is capable of shooting really well from the outside, you may beat, not every time, but in a situation like this, in a format like the March Madness, it only takes one really good shooting night from a team like FAU, Creighton, San Diego State, teams that are not on the map when you're talking big boy ball. It takes one night for them to have a great shooting night and you not have one and you're out of the tournament. That's why you got to love March Madness.
That's all it takes is one night. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Coming up next, Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel are in Phoenix for the NFL owners meetings, and they had some interesting things to say about the future of a Tennessee Titan. We'll get into that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
185! Every team needs a quarterback. 185! That's why we have
Hasselbeck, bootleg, rollout, toss, touchdown.
Tim.
You can run good plays at the right time.
ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck gives his expertise on all things NFL.
You evaluate players, and then you're turning them over to the coaching staff.
Every Tuesday at noon.
At the right time.
With Caroline, Willy, and D-Mace. Tim on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Robbie Stanley here, and season tickets for the Preds 2023-24 season are on sale now. Preds will be celebrating their 25th anniversary throughout next season. Full half and quarter season plans are available, and you can join the Loyal Legion today and receive the best seat locations at the best pricing and up to 50% off discounts on concessions throughout the season and more. Plus priority access to the 2023 NHL Draft and awards, which are hosted right here in Nashville coming up this summer. Check it out at NashvillePredators.com/season tickets.
This is for the men who never settle, the ones who believe only quitters end a game in a tie, the type of guys who choose the bar with the biggest TVs to overcompensate for theirs at home. This is the Lodge mentality. This is Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks has you covered for Lent. Try the fish and chips bundled with our 22-ounce draft for a steal on Fridays, or reel in one of our other seafood options like blackened fish tacos, shrimp Caesar, and char-grilled salmon.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, Willy Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. And a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. It's that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
I'm asking about Prevnar 20 because there's a chance pneumococcal pneumonia could put me in the hospital.
Age 65 or older, you may be at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a Pfizer vaccine that can help protect against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. The most commonly reported side effect was pain at the injection site. For additional common side effects and full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
I want to be able to keep my plans.
So I'm asking my doctor about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
One is smart.
This has just been a constant trend for this team.
One is funny.
That's right.
Funny looking, maybe. Chase and Michelle with Chase McCabe and Michelle Knezovic.
Are you listening?
I'm listening.
Everybody's listening.
Weekdays from 9 to 11. Presented by Hair Club. Hair Club. Love your hair. Live your life. On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Having some fun in the midday.
Yeah, that's awesome.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mace on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Under contract, Kevin's a valuable member of our football team. I've said that. His durability and his leadership, and so we'll see where things go. But as of now, there's nothing to report. Communication has been really good. Tried to make a great connection with him as a player and a captain on our team for 5 years. Those are conversations that happened between Kevin and his agent and Rand and myself, and try to find ways to continually improve our football team.
There you go. That was Mike Vrabel at the NFL owners meetings this morning. They're in Phoenix. Rand Carthon sat down with Jim Wyatt as well about the future of Kevin Byard. So now what we do know, or at least what has happened over the last couple of weeks, it was reported that the Titans asked Kevin Byard to take a pay cut. It was also reported that if Kevin Byard did not take a pay cut, then the Titans would have to cut him. It was also reported that Kevin Byard asked for his release from the Titans. So that's all been on the table. TD will join us in less than 15 minutes. TD, when all that was reported, TD came out and said that he did not ask for a release. Rand Carthon reiterated that sentiment when he sat down with Jim Wyatt in Phoenix, and this was put out early this morning by Jim Wyatt. So there was plenty of rumors that have made the rounds in recent weeks, including some involving safety Kevin Byard. Rand Carthon said, "I will say this. KB nor his representatives ever asked us for a release, so that was blatantly false. That's what I'll say about that. A ton of respect for Kevin Byard, and we'd love for him to continue his career as a Titan." My takeaway from this, the Titans asked him to take a pay cut. I think that's pretty clear. That's not something that Rand Carthon denied, but Rand Carthon is coming out and saying that he never asked for a release. My interpretation of all of this, I feel like there's some truth in the middle. That all of this came out and that it was reported that he asked for his release. I do think there's probably some sort of truth to that, and I think that has been interpreted two different ways by the two different parties at hand. Maybe the Titans interpreted it one way, maybe the Kevin Byard's camp interpreted it one way, and maybe the truth is somewhere in the middle here. I think that what we do know for certain, the Titans asked Kevin Byard to take a pay cut, and whether or not Kevin Byard officially asked for a release is kind of yet to be seen. Rand Carthon's denying it. I do think there's probably a little bit of truth to it, though. If it came out where there's smoke, there's fire. So that's what I don't know, is all of these he said, she said, reports of behind-the-scenes conversations that have been had with Kevin Byard. I really don't know what to make of it. I don't know what the truth is. But my underlying belief is that Kevin Byard will be a Titan in 2023. Under what salary, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, one thing is for sure. The truth is they asked him to take a pay cut. That's one thing.
That seems
we know.
obvious.
Yeah, we know that. Now, it seems like Kevin said no, or his representative, said, "Hey, listen, this is where Kevin stands. He doesn't feel he needs to take a pay cut."
And honestly,
now,
I agree.
Yeah, I agree too. Now you do what you feel is best. I can see that happening where they went to his representative. Hey, listen, Kevin's been a long-standing member on this team and in the community. We love him as a person, as a player, but we would like for him to take a pay cut. All right, let me go back to my client, but I'm going to tell you what he's probably more than likely going to say, but let me go back to my client. KB, they want you to take a pay cut. What? Hell no, I'm not taking a pay cut. They ask somebody else to take a pay cut. I'm not doing it. I'm still playing at a high level. I'm not taking a pay cut. Tell them to do what they need to do. I'm not taking a pay cut. All right. My client's not taking a pay cut. Now, the ball's in your court. Do what you need to do. I don't think Kevin Byard, just like Jeffrey Simmons at the end of the season, what he said, Kevin Byard has reiterated the same sentiment. I want to be a Tennessee Titan my whole career. I want to retire a Tennessee Titan. He's made that clear. And there's been a lot of players that said that. But I think when you say that, you then don't say, well, I want to trade. Trade me. I don't think you say that if indeed you have verbally said, listen, I want to be here forever, because you don't want that to be sort of the narrative. Oh, Kevin wants to trade. I thought he wanted to be a Titan for life. Now he wants to trade. Kevin seems to be the guy that thinks it through and said, listen, tell them I'm not taking a pay cut. They do what they need to do, but I'm not taking a pay cut. Not necessarily saying I want to be cut, I want to be released, I want to be traded, but do what you need to do, but I'm not taking a pay cut. Because he wants to be here, so he's not going to allow those words. Well, those words didn't get back to the Tennessee Titans. Now, there may have been some other things said and sort of filtered out through his agent, and then he was able to tell the Titans. But I just can't see, unless KB come out and say it, I can't see him saying, release me or trade me, because he wants to be here. He's going to say to me, because I've been in the situations like, do what you need to do, but I'm not taking a pay cut. So you can interpret that as what you want to interpret it as, but I'm not taking a pay cut.
That's what I think a lot of this came down to is misinterpretation.
Exactly.
That I doubt that Kevin Byard came forward and said, release me. Mm-hmm. I'm not taking a pay cut. Release me. Mm-hmm. I don't think that that's what happened. I think that there is some sort of truth to it, though. I don't think it was as explicit as it maybe was interpreted to be. Mm-hmm. But I do think that there is a good bit of truth to the Titans trying to decrease their financial commitment to Kevin Byard. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a completely different conversation for what the future of the Titans really is. If you're not going to pay Kevin Byard or pay him less, and I don't blame Kevin Byard for a single second for saying, no, I'm not taking a pay cut, because I've been nothing but productive for this team. I've been nothing but available for this team. And I've been nothing but a moral leader and a leader in every single definition of the word for this team. So no, I'm not taking a pay cut. If you would like to entertain an extension, if you would like to entertain a restructure,
I'll do that.
I'll do that. But you're not paying me less money because I've done nothing to deserve less money. So I don't blame Kevin Byard in the slightest. But I think the truth of the matter remains that the Titans don't want to pay him as much money this year as they are on the hook for. And what does that mean for the Titans? What does that mean for what their plan is moving forward? If they don't want to pay Kevin Byard, if they don't want to, if they're shopping Derrick Henry, if they're bringing in free agents for a low amount of money and not a whole lot of commitment, then where is the money going?
Well, I mean, they can still, because if you listen to Rand Carthon, it's not definitive one way or another. He's not saying, no, Kevin Byard is retiring a Titan. He said he's been great for this organization.
Yes.
And, so forth and so on. But he's never going to tie, at least I don't think, unless it's a young player like a Jeffrey Simmons, he's never going to put himself in a corner. And the organization is never going to back themselves in a corner like that where they say, no, he's for sure. Because that's what Baltimore is going through right now. They've backed themselves in a corner a little bit too, because Lamar is our quarterback. He's our guy moving forward. Now, they have some leverage to say that. On this end with the Titans, I don't think Rand Carthon would back himself in a corner unless he had some type of leverage. And in this situation, I mean, you have leverage neither for the player or for the organization. It's just a contract. Now, whether you want to pay, Kevin that much money or not, that's up to you. But you understand that you may have to trade him, because if he doesn't take a pay cut and you're just not going to release him, you may have to trade him. That's not out of the realm of possibility. And that may not be because Kevin Byard said, trade me or release me. It just may be one of those deals where, well, we can't get him to take a pay cut. Let's try to get something for him,
It's business.
It's business, yes.
Let's see what TD thinks about it. Tron Davenport will join us coming up next. It's Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
615 Chutney. You might recognize the name. Real Nashvillians know the 615 Chutney food truck used to be the spot. Now they have a full restaurant in Bellevue. Make no mistake, it's a new look with live music, an art gallery, and even a robot server. Yeah, a lot has changed, but it's still the same old chutney. They still serve up authentic and delicious South Indian cuisine to hundreds of satisfied customers every week. And they've become a Nashville staple along the way. Just ask around. Open for dine-in, carry out, and delivery through Grubhub. That's 615 Chutney in Bellevue, a very Indian affair.
Cards issued by Celtic Bank, member FDIC. Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives. But those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's business cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp's software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 3.5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp for free. Just go to ramp.com/sports. Ramp.com/sports. ramp.com/sports.
Hey guys, Jeremy here, General Manager at Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars. We are the go-to spot in Nashville for the best old-fashioned, a nice relaxing cigar, and lots of high-end spirits and wine. Are cigars not your thing? No problem. We have the best ventilation system in the industry that provides a fresh, clean atmosphere for you and your friends. We are here to provide you a trendy, upscale experience in the heart of downtown. Check us out at 508 Church Street. Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars. Luxury redefined.
Now, your Game Center update.
This is Nick Keyser. Trouble with the Toronto Maple Leafs last night here in Nashville. John Tavares scored twice, leading Toronto to a 3-2 victory. And in the process, forward Matt Duchene was left hurt with an upper body injury, leaving his status as week to week. Head coach John Hines on his young team and the opportunities they've had here lately.
You know, they're doing a good job, and sometimes there's a bad night. But as I said, I think it's a great experience. It's really fun coaching them. You know, they're competitive guys. I think a lot of them are taking advantage of their opportunities. You know, the team's playing competitive hockey.
And the Final Four in the NCAA men's tournament has been set, with action to tip off here this Saturday. Number 9 Florida Atlantic will take on number 5 San Diego State and will battle for their first national championship appearance for either school, while number 5 Miami will take on number 4 UConn. And the NFL owners, head coaches, and GMs of each franchise are out in Biltmore, Arizona until tomorrow afternoon, assessing the state of the league and a whole lot more. You're listening to 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit theGameNashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Bobby and Rexrode. Chase and Michelle.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase.
Company.
Nashville's best sports talk.
Crank it up.
1025 and 1063.
Cranks it, he scores.
On both sides of the ball.
One big possession.
Touchdown, Middle Tennessee.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen,
this is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willie Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personality of all time.
On 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025, 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app. We are live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios, streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook Sports, and joining us now is TD, Teron Davenport. TD, we were just breaking down Rand Carthon's sit-down with Jim Wyatt, in which he said that Kevin Byard did not ask for his release from the team. We also heard from Mike Vrabel, who said, we value Kevin Byard and his contributions to this team, all things that we knew, how much the Titans and Mike Vrabel value Kevin Byard. What is the latest that you've heard on the Kevin Byard situation, and what do you see most likely panning out between Kevin Byard and the Titans?
Yeah, first things first, I just want to say it's kind of tough to talk about football, in the midst of what happened out there. That's just I'm kind of speechless about that, man. Just to think, 3 children are gone, and just that's tough, man. Like, that kind of struck me a little bit, to be honest with you. But to, kind of try to answer your question, well, it seems like it's more of a thing where it's not a he say, she say as much as it's interpretation. That's the main thing, whereas Byard didn't come out and say, hey, release me. he didn't do that. We know that it's established. But how do you read, and this is, coming from people I spoke to in Byers camp, like, how do you read what was said? He was asked to take a pay cut. He refused to because he feels his play doesn't warrant doing that. But he wants to remain a Titan forever. So he wants to, but, it's almost like he's putting the ball back in the Titans' court, and they have a decision to make. That's the way I interpret it. And then even in talking to Mike Vrabel today, one of the things that I asked him was, how do you go about managing the personalities, right? You're a coach, but people manager also. So do you go into damage control? How do you address that? And, he said that they've spoke. He touched on, the relationships that you establish with the players. From Vrabel's mindset, or not mindset, but from what I gathered with him, my mindset, or what I gathered from him is that all intentions are for Byer to be there. And he wouldn't even approach the idea of how the defense looked without him as well.
Yeah, TD, I appreciate you for bringing that up. It's a really difficult day in our community, and I know all of our thoughts and prayers are with the families and the community of the Covenant School, and I'm sure yours are as well. It does feel very insignificant when we talk about football on a day like today, but we appreciate you for joining us, and even though it's a really heavy day and a tough day for our community. You wrote on ESPN.com that you think maybe one of the most underrated free agent signings for the Titans in this free agency period is Azeez Al-Shaair. Why do you think so?
Yes. Yeah, I tell you, and one of the good things about sports too, it could be that break, and that distraction from things. So it is kind of good that we're discussing it. And with Azeez Al-Shaair, you talk about a break, a distraction. He went through an awful lot when he was younger, and when he gets on the field, it's almost like that gives him a break from that stuff. So you look at him and you watch how he plays. He's not the guy that's going to talk a whole lot and do all that stuff, but he's always around the football. His cover skills are so greatly underrated, and it's easy to do that when you watch film and you see 54 next to him and Fred Warner, who's this is a guy they got doing dropping from the line of scrimmage all the way into the deep middle of the field and having the audacity to break the pass up. So you look at Al-Shaair, the thing I like about him is it gives you a guy that's always around the football. He's tough against the run. He's one of those guys that he's not as good as David Long as far as like weaving around blocks, but he'll come up and he'll take on a block and then make the tackle. And then you also watch him, especially in zone coverage. He does a good job where he's able to balance the two, right? Like where you could cover two routes, you know what I mean? Be in two different areas in essence by splitting the difference, and that's solid coverage. So I think that's why it's an underrated signing, and just the amount of money that he costs. It's minimum amount. And in 2017, you look at his play. 2021, where he started 17 games, I believe it was. You look at his play, and he was at a Pro Bowl level.
Now, TD, when you look at these guys, and Rand spoke of this at the owners' meeting, that the thing about the guys that he brought in is that they haven't gotten the opportunity to be starters, and this gives them that opportunity. It's nothing about the way, because he feels they are players. He brought them in here because not only one, because they're players, but two, because he felt this was basically an opportunity for guys to be starters who should have been starters.
Absolutely, and it's no coincidence that that's exactly what I wrote about it. Posted this morning. I filed it last week because that's the thing that I noticed myself is that.
And you and I talked about that too. I think TD about are these guys potential starters? I think we may have been talking about just one or two guys, but yeah. Yeah,
exactly, and I think when you look, that's one of the things that Mike Vrabel mentioned when he talked about Murphy Bunting. Sean Murphy Bunting. He said that. He's obviously a long corner, great anticipation, ball skills, but then he used the example of himself, right? Because Mike Vrabel was, in essence, a special teams guy for the most part with the Steelers. Then he went to the Patriots and morphed into an all-pro caliber player, and it was all about opportunity. And he said that's the same thing with Sean Murphy-Bunting. Sometimes a change of scenery will help a guy. So you have that. And you look at Andre Dillard, removing him from that situation in Philadelphia and having him in a situation where, and that's one of the things he said was big on him coming here was they believe in me, right? And now it's an opportunity for him to be the top option at left tackle. So you're 100% right. Arden Key finally going to be in a scheme that used him correctly. The last 2 years between the 49ers and Jaguars and now the Titans. But this scheme using him correctly, he'll be more than just a situational guy, whereas he could be a full-time starter. Show what he could do against the run as well as the pass. So you got those guys. Daniel Brunskill, he started 17 games himself a couple years ago, right? So you have that, and he could play up and down the line. He'll probably be the right guard. But it's all about opportunity for these guys and them coming at such a bargain price. And, when Rand Carthon is up against it, where you got $40 million in dead money, you have to make sure that you offset the big-ticket guys like Kevin Byard, Derrick Henry, et cetera, with guys like these ones that he brought in to fill in as starters.
Now, TD, with that being said, do you think now, because of some of the things Rand Carthon has said at the owners' meeting, some of the things he said when he's spoken to you, that in regards to Andre Dillard, he will get the first crack at left tackle? Do you think that now they move away from that? And I think I asked you this last week, too, that they move away from that tackle spot in the first round, that they could potentially go out and get the best guard or best player available at that 11th spot, or even move down in the draft if you figure, I already got my left tackle.
Yeah, they can move down in the draft, and then you move down, and now you're within striking distance of a guy like Zay Flowers, who I think is the top receiver in the draft. I don't take a receiver at 11. That's one thing I don't do. But what they did was put themselves in a situation where, you're not pigeonholed to one position. Like you're not forced to reach, right? Like if Paris Johnson Jr. is gone and Peter Skoronski is gone and Broderick Jones is gone, you don't have to go and take a guy that could be your left tackle because you have not depth, but you have options there now. So I think they put themselves in a position where they don't have to force a pick, but at the same time, they put themselves in a position where they really need some receiver help. So that's why maybe moving back would be a good thing. But this is a deep group, and I know, there's multiple guys. Tyler Scott out of Cincinnati is a guy you could get on day 2 that I think would be a really good option for them.
Now, I'm sure you've seen the tweet that caught the sports world by storm. The Lamar Jackson saying, hey, listen, I told Baltimore on March the 2nd that I wanted to be traded. With that being said, we had a discussion, should the Titans inquire about Lamar Jackson and what it would potentially cost them, not necessarily for I'm going to work out the deal, I'm going to bring it back to you, you don't like you, I got to give up 2 first-round picks. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm saying from a trade standpoint, should we trade X player and X draft pick to get a guy and then bring him in and potentially sign him to a long-term deal?
But with him being on that tag, isn't the only way? Now I could be wrong, but with him being on that tag, isn't the only way that you could trade for him is to give up those 2 picks?
See, that's what we're trying to figure out, TD. Would it be? Do they still have to give up the 2 picks in a trade, or it's only if I work out a deal with Lamar and then present it to him and he takes it back to Baltimore? That's when the 2 picks come into play. So I could be wrong.
I'm not sure of that either. I mean, it's tough because you already had all this stuff come out about Tannehill.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's one of the things I asked about, the damage control, because I asked about Byard, Tannehill, and Henry, and it's one of those things where, okay, you inquire, that gets out, man. Like, it could be a little tough sledding. Maybe, just maybe, that inspires Tannehill the way drafting Jordan Love inspired Aaron Rodgers. It could go either way. But I think you do – you inquire, but you got to keep that airtight, and that's the big part of it. Can you do that, and I don't know, because there's no agent in the mix, to leak it, but I mean, would Lamar say something, so it's tough. It's tough.
TD is with us, John Davenport, and that's a very fair point to bring up, because I think a lot of us, we forget that these players have feelings too, and they feel a certain way about their job security as well. And even though Derrick Henry and Kevin Byard and Ryan Tannehill are pros, I mean, they still hear those things. They still hear those rumors, and it hits hard as well. Well, let's say the Titans do inquire about Lamar Jackson. Let's say the Titans do make a trade for Lamar Jackson. Are the Titans a competitor in the AFC with Lamar Jackson?
I think they are. I think they're a competitor, but, you're going to have to find a way to get some receiver help, and it's unfortunate for Lamar because, he's been at a receiver deficit for basically all of his career. And a lot of people want to blame it on him, but, it's known now that a lot of receivers, they don't want to come because of that offense, because how limited it is for the receivers. So I think you have to look at that.
TD Tron Davenport, appreciate you for joining us. You're in Phoenix, correct?
Yeah, I'm in Phoenix. Yep.
All right, well, safe travels back from Phoenix. We'll look forward to hearing your reports from the NFL owner meetings this week.
Thanks. Appreciate you.
All right, Thanks, TD.
All right.
TD hits on something that I think is very important and something that I think goes unnoticed. Is you can inquire in free agency and you can reach your neck out in free agency and in trades and guys that could be on the market. But there's a lesson that I think one team in the NFL learned by doing that, and they got burned by it, and the Titans don't want to be in that position. And we'll get into that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Want the latest on college football and Nashville sports?
They can be a fully formed model of what they're going to be offensively moving forward.
Join Outkick 360's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company.
You don't know what's going to happen with the roster or the team.
He'll bring opinions and charisma for a full half hour every week.
This is a good lesson about sports and what we think and what actually happens.
Chad Withrow on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, it's John Tesh. You want to know how to get better rates, better coverage, and better service on your home and auto insurance? Work with Zander Insurance. I know it's a big promise, but this team delivers. They've been around for almost 100 years and have earned the privilege of representing dozens of insurance companies so they can shop, compare, and find you the best options available. More options mean more savings, and in many cases, better coverage. But it doesn't stop there. Each year, they review your coverage to make sure your rates stay competitive. Nobody else does that. And when it comes to service, just check out their ratings. Zander is one of the top agencies in the industry, and they earned that spot with their commitment to making sure their clients are taken care of like family. That's what sets them apart. Go to Zander.com for quick online quotes or call 800-356-1780 for that personal touch that you've been missing.
It's that time of year, the insanity, the madness, the tournament. Your friends showing up at your house to watch the games and eat all your food. You want to be a good host, but you don't want total chaos. And Central Barbecue has the solution. Bulk order some slow smoked barbecue and pick it up right before tip-off. Stop by either Nashville location or place an order at eatcbq.com. This year, show your friends you care about them. Feed them Central Barbecue. 2 locations in Hillsboro and Capitol View. Smoke is our sauce.
We do screen printing.
Music City Screen Prints.
We do embroidery.
Music City Screen Prints.
We do large format printing.
Music City Screen Prints.
We do promotional goods.
Music City Screen Prints.
We do graphic design.
Music City Screen Prints.
mcscreenprints.com. That's mcscreenprints with an S.com. 615-866-6010.
You think it, we print it.
Texting
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Nice run. It's great being back out on the mountain. You sort of disappeared for a while. Everything okay?
Between you and me, it was lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah. The doc told me once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone, and that can make it harder to stay in shape. That's why I started taking Nugenix Total T. It's made a huge difference.
Oh, I've seen that on TV. Is it for real?
For sure. It's the #1 doctor-recommended testosterone booster. It boosts free and total testosterone levels to help you get back the drive and energy from your youth. My wife, my boss, my kids, everyone has noticed a change in me.
Do they still give out complimentary bottles for people to try for themselves?
Yes, just send them a text.
Guys, text HATCH to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. Nugenix is the #1 selling testosterone brand at GNC and Walmart. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back in shape fast, absolutely free. Text HATCH to 321-321. That's HATCH to 321-321.
Want to weigh in on the conversation?
It's a brain booster.
Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Of course. Of course we do. And we're in March. We're continuing to build a football team, the best football team we can. And Ryan's healthy. He's getting healthy. I would say that he's been putting the work in. It's been good to see him around the building. We always expect that. But to make predictions, I think I've been through this last year. I'm not going to commit to anybody being on roster on September. You know what I mean? I've seen it change too quickly. And of course we want Ryan as our quarterback, and everybody else that's helped us win. That's what we want.
There you go. That was Mike Vrabel in Phoenix this morning at the NFL owners meetings.
Did I hear him say, and I understand why he said it, and I think I said it last segment. Did he say we're not committing to anything?
Correct.
Yeah. So and he's right, because like he said, I've seen, and he said in his words, he's seen the NFL change so much in like days that you don't want to like just commit and pack yourself in a corner to one thing. You leave everything sort of fluent and open.
And I totally understand that way of thinking of we're not going to commit ourselves to anything. We're not going to come out and say X, Y, and Z if we still have a certain number of months until we need to do that, especially a month before the draft, whenever your roster is kind of up in the air. And you, to TD's point, the Titans don't need to or have to pigeonhole themselves into drafting where they are at 11. They can trade out of that pick. They can trade up to that pick. They don't have to draft a certain position group. You don't have to draft wide receiver. You don't have to draft an offensive lineman. The Titans now have the freedom and the ability to draft the best available. And I think that is the best possible way to step into a draft. You never want to be in the position where you're drafting at whatever position in the first round and you're like, okay, well, we need a left tackle, so we'll just take whatever best left tackle is on the board whenever there's a potential all-pro wide receiver that's still on the board. So I think that they're in a good position there. But TD brought up a very fair point that the longer you go without committing to a Ryan Tannehill or a Derrick Henry, or the longer you go looking at the market, testing the market, putting your foot out there and saying, okay, we are interested in Lamar Jackson, we would be interested in putting a trade package together for Lamar Jackson, that gets back to Ryan Tannehill. It happened to the Atlanta Falcons last year when Atlanta was in on the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes, when they were very obvious players for Deshaun Watson, and Matt Ryan said, I'm out. If you guys are going to go into the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes, then I have no interest in being here. And he demanded a trade. So I do think that is one thing to keep in mind. While I'm always in for the Titans to upgrade at any position, especially the starting quarterback position, especially when a player like Lamar Jackson is out there. And of course, I'm well aware that Lamar Jackson comes with the pros and the cons, that Lamar Jackson comes with some conditions. I'm aware of that. But when you have an ability, or at least a player out there to upgrade at the most important position in sports, you should do everything in your power to do that. But also understanding there are bridges that could be burned. Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, they're professionals. They understand that this is a business. But I don't want to be naive to say that there aren't going to be some egos that get a bit bruised if you decide to go down that path.
Oh, the egos have already been bruised. just the mere fact of it being out there, and the team not fully committing to, the quarterback position. I think the ego has been bruised already. Now it's up to Ryan Tannehill or anybody, whether it's Kevin Byard, Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry. Now you say, well, okay, what are you going to do about it? Either I'm going to sit here and, soak in it, or I'm just going to keep on working. And, eventually that's not something that I can control. I'm going to worry about and concentrate on the things that I can control. And that is preparing myself in the off season and doing the things necessary to make me the best quarterback or the best running back. And I'm sure both of them are doing it, even the best safety. I'm sure all three of those guys are doing it. But the Eagles have already been hurt. Kevin Byard's ego has been hurt a little bit. But why? Because they asked him to take a pay cut. And he's like, why should I have to take a pay cut? I've been playing at a level that says I should be making this amount of money. Derrick Henry, why should I take a pay cut? I was a second leading rusher in the National Football League. So why should I take a pay cut? And Ryan Tannehill's probably saying the same thing. Like, listen, I've done everything y'all have asked me to do. Why should I take a pay cut? And I'm not the highest paid quarterback in the National Football League.
Ryan
Hell,
Tannehill's
it's a bargain.
Steal.
Exactly. So why should I take a pay cut? So the egos have already sort of been bruised. You got to understand that this can potentially happen, because you got to remember, the reason why you're in this position is because they did the same thing to the prior quarterback in Marcus Mariota. They brought you in at a high salary, knowing damn well you're going to be their starting quarterback. They were just waiting on a good time to sort of make that, because I think they were done with Marcus anyway. They were going to let him walk anyway. So you are going to be the starting quarterback either during the season or going into that next season. So, it's happened before, so don't think it's not going to or can happen again in regards to, you potentially being replaced by a guy that they go get in a trade or go get through the draft. It's going to happen eventually. So egos are already bruised. It's just what do you do now that your ego has been bruised? Do you go out there and continue to work and let your agents do the job? Or do you soak in it and be mad? And now what if they don't trade you? What if they don't bring Lamar in? Now you've gone into the season with a sour taste in your mouth.
Herb from McEwen Texan about the Titans bringing in Lamar Jackson says, besides money, name one thing that Lamar Jackson would get from committing to the Titans. I just don't think that he would come here for anything. If he wants to get traded, then that's what he would get.
Just out of Baltimore.
Out of Baltimore. Yeah. And he would get the money wherever Lamar Jackson goes, whether it's Baltimore or wherever it's somewhere else in the NFL that could use a Lamar Jackson or thinks that it's a Lamar Jackson away from being competitive. He's going to get paid. He's going to get his money. And he's going to get out of Baltimore if he goes elsewhere. I think that's really, truly what he wants. Now, I always will go back to this, is what are these players' priorities? Do they want to stay where they are? Do they want to get paid? Do they want to win a championship? All of those things are very fair reasons to go somewhere, to stay somewhere. It just depends on which one that is for you. To me, it seems like Lamar Jackson's number one priority right now is getting paid. And I don't blame him for that. Yeah. But that seems like it's his number one priority.
Yeah, I think it is. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
He hasn't had that big payday. He has played at a level that he should get a payday, whatever that payday is, whether he think it needs to be X amount of dollars or the Ravens or any other team thinks it should be this. His play has dictated he get a big contract. Now, what the big contract is, I don't know. So, yes, his priorities are, I need to get paid. I do want to win. And I think he does want to be in Baltimore, but again, it goes back to the ego. Your ego was damaged. It was bruised. And now you feel the only recourse is to turn and walk the other way. So what if Baltimore comes up to that number you want, or damn near close to that number you want? are you then going to allow your ego to stay in place? You know, or are you going to say, you know what? Okay, I see y'all making an effort. All right, I want to be. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, you see what I'm saying? It's like eventually you're going to have to put the ego. And I know it's hard for a player and for an organization, because this is not only Lamar's deal, it's the organization's deal. Their ego is in this too. So everybody put their egos to the side and try to work out a deal. And if you can't, then, you know, you do what's best for each individual, you know, or the individual organization or the player.
It's a business on both sides.
It is. If these young men hadn't figured it out now, it's a business. It's been a business the whole time. But now, because the money has gotten so much greater, you're starting to see it even more, you know? Mm-hmm. Now that the money has gotten big, you're starting to see now, like when we said, or the guys before us said, hey, this is a business. People are looking at it like, yeah. No, you see it's really a business now.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. Mike Vrabel at the NFL owners meetings this morning in Phoenix says, hey, we'd love for Ryan Tannehill to be our starting quarterback. We are not going to commit to anyone right now. It's March. It's early. I hear what Mike Vrabel is coming from, but he and Rand Carthon each are leaving the door open for new options at any position, an upgrade at any position, quarterback included. So why not Lamar Jackson? Let's weigh the pros and the cons, what the Titans could gain and what could hurt the Titans if they do decide to pursue Lamar Jackson. We'll get into all of that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
This is Phil Tomasino, and this is Smashville.
Cousins put it in front of the score. Tomasino lofts it in. 2-0 Nashville.
This is the flagship of the Nashville Predators Radio Network, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Hey, Joe Rexrode here for FanDuel. The tournament heating up, folks, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now FanDuel is giving new customers a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That is $1,000 in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. All you got to do is go to FanDuel.com/Joe102. Sign up today to claim your no-sweat first bet. Then you can wager on everything from the money line, point spreads, which teams will be cutting down the nets, and, of course, we're down to 4. So we're getting close here, and we got a shocking Final Four. I will tell you right now, I think I like San Diego State, and I think I like UConn to be the two teams that meet each other in the national championship game. Do whatever you want. Just do it on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Do not miss your shot at no sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Go to FanDuel.com/Joe102. Make every moment more with FanDuel. You must be 21 or older, present in Tennessee. First online real-money wager only, $10 deposit required. Refund issued is now withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 800-889-9789.
Men, this is Evan Bass with the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and I've been helping men with sexual health issues for many years. I've seen the pain and anxiety that men walk into the clinic with when erectile dysfunction is affecting them. And I also know the heartache and difficulty it can bring to their partner. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we've been successfully treating men for ED for many years now. We've seen the amazing impacts that those treatments have on a man's confidence and positivity. And we've seen the wonderful things those treatments also do for a man's relationship. That's why I'm pleased to announce that we are now offering the same great services we offer at our Nashville clinic at our new location in Franklin, which will make it much more convenient for those men living south of Nashville to get treated. So call us today and book your appointment at our Midtown location or at our new clinic in Cool Springs. Your first visit is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090, or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatment exert results vary.
Sports and leadership go hand in hand. In fact, 94% of women executives were student athletes. Play Like a Girl is creating a more equal playing field for the next generation of women in leadership. You can help too. Become a mentor, donor, or volunteer. Learn more at IPlayLikeAGirl.org/mentor.
When you want live and local,
If they were just better at the offensive line.
You can be a contender in the AFC again.
they've had more winning seasons than not. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game has you covered. Looking for some national programming?
Why do I want to get a running back like that 5 more years?
The AFC now is so deep at quarterback.
Check out 94.9 The Fan. Nashville's home for all things sports is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan.
Hey, Nashville, this is Sean Henry. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Of course. I mean, of course we do. And that's, we're in March. We're continuing to build a football team, the best football team we can. And Ryan's healthy. He's getting healthy. I would say that he's putting the work in. It's been good to see him around the building. So, yeah, we always expect that. But to make predictions, I think I've been through this last year. I'm not going to commit to anybody being on roster on September. You know what I mean? I've seen it change too quickly. And of course that, we want Ryan as our quarterback, and everybody else that's helped us win. That's what we want.
Mike Vrabel at the NFL owners meetings in Phoenix this morning. Not a hard commitment to Ryan Tannehill. It leaves the door open at quarterback. It leaves the door open at every position. So why not Lamar Jackson? Lamar Jackson took to Twitter this morning, said that he requested a trade from the Baltimore Ravens on March 2nd, which was right around the time they were undergoing negotiations right before the Ravens placed the non-exclusive franchise tag on Lamar Jackson. So the Titans aren't committed to Ryan Tannehill, which I think that we all have kind of known, even though I still think that Ryan Tannehill is going to be your starting quarterback in 2023. I would say it's overwhelmingly more likely than not. There's still the option there. There's still the door that's open. So why not Lamar Jackson? I think the number one pro that you would get by bringing in Lamar Jackson is that you instantly become better. Mm-hmm. Lamar Jackson is a better quarterback than Ryan Tannehill. Lamar Jackson would instantly make you a contender, at least a March or April contender today with Lamar Jackson as your quarterback over Ryan Tannehill. That is, I think, the most obvious reason why you would pursue Lamar Jackson. But it's not all rosy with Lamar Jackson. I think the first thing that you would have to weigh is, are the injuries worth it? Lamar Jackson has ended each of the last 2 seasons benched with an injury. Those are concerns. Though that is a serious thing that you have to weigh when pursuing a quarterback like Lamar Jackson, also considering what you would have to pay him and what you would have to give up in order to get him. Do you want to bring in a quarterback that hasn't shown that he is durable throughout the entirety of the season, at least in the last 2 seasons?
Yeah, that's what you got to try to figure out as an organization. And really, this season, I think yes, he did get injured, but a part of me thinks, he wanted to, and I almost hate saying it, it's just like, why should I come back? I'm going to make sure headed into this offseason that I am 100% healthy. I don't want to get back out there and then end up re-injuring myself because maybe the offensive line isn't at a place that where it usually is, as far as the guys across the offensive line and how good they are, or this offense hadn't changed much and it's just the same offense and everybody's pretty much figured it out. So it puts me at a disadvantage. So why then would I want to go out there and further damage myself even more? Because even when this whole injury thing, and I remember, talking heads, he should come back for the playoffs and this and that and that and this. And RG3 said something, it was just like the smartest thing in the world. So listen, I did exactly what everybody wants Lamar Jackson to do. I went out there and I played with a bum knee, because everybody wanted me to play, and we were headed to the playoffs and all this pressure, this and that. He didn't say it all in this many words, but basically I'm paraphrasing him. I went back, I re-injured myself, and my career was never the same. And he was absolutely right. His career was never the same. So all these people that were screaming and yelling, Lamar, you should come back, and this and no. Lamar set out because I believe he wanted to be as healthy as possible going into the next season. So had he had a contract, had there been that guaranteed contract in place already, a part of me believes Lamar would have came back last year. But because it wasn't, and they were stopped working on it, and he knew they had to work on it again, he wanted to make sure that he was healthy, and they couldn't use this going into the negotiation like, listen, you're still injured. We don't know about next year. No, he wanted to make sure he was as healthy as possible. And I guarantee you, he's 100% healthy right now. So I'm not worried about the injuries per se. You don't want him to get injured? Put some players out there around him. Give him another wide receiver or two. Continue to building up that offensive line. He will not. His likelihood of getting injured goes down tremendously because each time I believe he's gotten injured with inside the pocket. Mm-hmm. Now, if you stabilize that pocket, get him some more pass catchers, he's not going to more than likely he's not going to experience that over again. So I'm not worried about the injuries. I'm just worried about the money that you would have to pay him, and would you be able to build a team around him quickly?
And that's the second thing.
Mm-hmm.
And this second thing you have to weigh, the second question you have to ask yourself is this offense equipped to get the best out of Lamar? That means a few different things. The offensive line, do you have the pass catchers to equip Lamar Jackson with? I don't think Lamar Jackson is the kind of quarterback like your Patrick Mahomes that can just lob the ball downfield every single play, but Lamar Jackson needs pass catchers. He needs legitimate weapons in the passing game. Can Tim Kelly call an offense that complements Lamar Jackson's strengths? Because that's not currently the offense that the Titans run. They don't run the Lamar Jackson, Greg Olsen, Baltimore Ravens offense. Can they develop an offense? Greg Roman, thank you. Can they develop an offense and can they complement Lamar Jackson both with pass catchers, with an offensive line to protect him, and can Tim Kelly bring out what Lamar Jackson is so good at? That's another thing you have to think about. They're equipped for Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I think they are because I don't think everybody – we're not looking at what Baltimore did to sort of get Lamar to sign back with them. They started heading down that direction. They got rid of Greg Roman. They brought in another offensive coordinator that can change and open up this passing game for Lamar. That's why I believe, that was done for no other reason but for Lamar Jackson. He went through those first couple of years of a Greg Roman offense when he was young and he was learning the NFL. And he started to get comfortable, and they never expanded out of that. They stayed in it. Lamar probably wants to expand outside of that. Hence, they went and got him another offensive coordinator. So I'm not going to – it's just me. I'm not going to buy into, we need a specialized offense. I think, if Lamar would have come here or if he would have go to anywhere, he would work within whatever offense that they run. Now, there are things you're going to put in your offense to take advantage of his skill set, but you don't say, well, this guy's just he can only play in this one offense, so we need to cater. We need to sort of move our offense around and cater to him because this is the only offense he knows. This is the only offense that he can be, successful in. No, he can be successful in other offenses. It's just he's played in that offense for the last 4 years. Any quarterback in this league, let's say majority of them, if you consider, Lamar a top 15 quarterback, which you should, then you should be able to say, I can take all 15 of those quarterbacks and put them in whatever offense, and they should be able to have success. Now, I'm not going to take a Joe Burrow and put him in a Greg Roman offense because that's just not.
It's just not going to work.
Yeah, it's just not going to work. Joe Burrow's not a runner.
It's dumb.
Exactly. But I would take Joe Burrow and put him in any other offense, and I expect Joe Burrow to do his job. I would take Josh Allen and put him in any other offense, and I would expect him to do his job and do it at a high level. Granted, he has the pass catchers. Lamar's the same. Put him in the offense. Just surround him with pass catchers and people to block in front of him. He's shown he has the talent to be a top-tier quarterback. Now give him top-tier talent or close to it around him and see what happens.
And the final thing that I think you have to keep in mind is how have the last couple of weeks and even the last couple of years and the way that Lamar Jackson has negotiated with the Baltimore Ravens, has that shown you that that is something that your organization, your franchise is willing to get into? Because I do think that Lamar Jackson has shown over the last couple of days how detrimental not having an agent has been to his negotiations. It's not even something that I've even thought about how Lamar Jackson doesn't have an agent until really these last couple of weeks when he's going through these negotiations, where I feel like Lamar maybe has hurt himself or put himself in this situation with the Ravens that maybe could have been avoided if he had an agent in there that was able to make to negotiate those things, that was able to keep Lamar Jackson informed of the best possible way that he could go down. Lamar Jackson's a smart guy. Lamar Jackson can choose what is best for him. But negotiating in the NFL is so difficult. And there are so many different, minute little clauses and things that are put into a contract. And there are things that are really difficult when you're a player, when you're a professional football player and you have a certain ego that you need, that this game requires. It's tough to take yourself out of that and put yourself into business mode. And I think that these negotiations would have gone a whole lot differently, maybe even more smoothly if Lamar Jackson had gotten an agent. That's something that other franchises in the league want to get into, is negotiations with Lamar Jackson without proper representation.
Yeah, but there has been players, I forget the offensive lineman, some years ago, I think it was for Seattle or some other team. He negotiated, it might have been Houston. He negotiated his last 2 contracts. Now, granted, they were not as big as Lamar's. I think Laremy Tunsil even negotiated his last 2 contracts. Were they as big as Lamar's? No, but they were big contracts. And
got paid.
Yeah, he got paid. And he facilitated that without an agent. So it can be done. But when you start at that quarterback position, it's a little bit it's difficult because the money becomes so much greater at that position, and that's the position. It's the most valuable position on the football field. So I think I said this last week before we go to break. I said, if there is indeed the $130-something million for 3 years or whatever it was, guaranteed for Lamar, if that was on the table, then if I'm Lamar, I am hiring an agent and I'm saying, listen, anything above 133 that you get me, say if you get me, I don't know, $100 million added on to the 133. Well, you get 3% of that $100 million because I know I got 130 whatever guaranteed for 3 years. I know I got that. I did that on my own. I know I got that. What can you get me above that? If you can give me another extra $100 million above that, well, you get 3% of that. Now, will the agent take that? I don't know, but that's smart business. That's like I did half my backyard and I did it great. Now, I want you to do the rest. You only get paid for doing the rest. You don't get paid for doing something that's already done. That's just me.
It's an interesting proposal, absolutely, and I'm sure it's something. Lamar Jackson has chosen to gone without representation because he doesn't want to split up his money that he makes. And I get it. I understand, but I have to think: how could things be different? Could he be making even more money that's on the table? Could he have that deal that he has wanted if he had someone negotiating for him? I won't know the answer to that question, but it makes you think. But hey, be caller 3 now to win a pair of tickets to see Queen and Adam Lambert at Bridgestone Arena on October 25th. You can't even buy those tickets yet. So you are going to be, first in line for the tickets. You're going to be the first few that gets the tickets. They're not even on sale. Queen and Adam Lambert at Bridgestone Arena on October 25th. Be caller 3 right now. Good luck with that. Coming up next, I have to admit something, and I don't even feel an ounce of shame for it. We'll get into that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every Wednesday at noon.
That fits the mentality of what they're going to do.
Outkick 360's Jonathan Hutton joins Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase to talk all things Titans and NFL.
Much more creative in how you go about calling certain plays.
He's got opinions and insights on the two-tone blue.
That doesn't mean that you can't have great or don't need great quarterback play.
Catch Hutton every Wednesday at noon on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
20 years ago, when Genesis Diamonds came to Nashville, this was one of the most expensive cities in America for diamond jewelry. Our radical approach and no middleman pricing changed that forever. And now we're doing it again, this time with lab-grown diamonds. We were shocked to find out what the other mall stores and the other big radio advertisers were charging. They sell their platinum 4-carat VS2 lab-grown earrings for $15,720. We sell them for $6,900. Their 3.08 carat lab-grown round diamond with G-Color VS2 clarity is $10,045. We sell it for $5,900. Looks like they might be going back to the old ways. If they're charging this much on lab-grown diamonds, kind of makes you wonder what else they're selling at the same outrageous markup. Nashville, we are not going backwards. At Genesis Diamonds, our non-commissioned trusted advisors are here to give you all the information with details you can trust and prices you can count on. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Hey, it's Jared. Are you looking to move? If so, do yourself a favor and reach out to my friends at TriStar Moving. You can be assured your move will be stress-free because they've got new utility vans to help with pack jobs to separate your high-value or fragile items from the bulk of your furniture, and their movers are carefully picked and highly trained. No one in the game is doing this. TriStar Moving is raising the standard in the moving industry. When you're ready to move, give them a call. TriStar Moving, 615-640-1219, or online at nationalmoving.org/radio, and tell them Jared Stillman referred you for 10% off. That's TriStar Moving.
Sometimes the best part of the day is when the day is done. The Rusty Nail in Hermitage has been the best part of the day for many since their doors opened. They provide a great local atmosphere with a big back patio and volleyball courts, plus great drinks like $3 2-lane beer drafts and great food, especially the wings. Call now to reserve your private events or corporate parties, or simply call up a few old pals and tell them to meet you down at the Rusty Nail. See you there. Cheers.
Middle Tennessee, you can count on an award-winning service team for all your home maintenance and improvement needs. Lee Company, we're A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau and trusted by thousands of homeowners in our community. Our team is ready to assist with all your home maintenance projects, heating and air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, appliance service, and more. Experience the convenience of calling one phone number for all your home maintenance needs. Call Lee Company today at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
Sometimes he gets lonely and needs some company.
10 for 17 for 45 yards in his career with 1 interception.
This is one of those years where it's a step back for them.
And that'll create more one-on-one situations and make it easier for him to throw the ball down the field.
It's Stillman and Company.
You've got real talent.
With Jared Stillman, weekdays from 2 to 6 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Having some fun in the midday.
Okay, that's really fun.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
It's a good source of energy because it's live.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Join 102.5 The Game and the Preds Energy team at the Rusty Nail in Hermitage on Monday, April 3rd for the Preds Road Watch Party as your Nashville Predators take on the Dallas Stars. Enjoy $3 2-lane beer drafts, a great local atmosphere with a large outdoor patio and volleyball courts. Plus, you can try some of their great food, especially the wings. That is 102.5 The Game and Preds Energy team at the Rusty Nail on Monday, April 3rd. See you there. D-Mase, I have something to admit.
Okay.
And I have zero shame for it. When the Alabama Crimson Tide lost to San Diego State on Friday night, I jumped up and I rejoiced.
Did you party?
I said I partied. I partied for the demise of the Alabama Crimson Tide basketball team. And I know that there's so many Alabama.
LSU in you, huh?
It's not that. Because I know that all of you Alabama fans out there are rolling their eyes saying this jaded LSU Tiger fan. And yes, you know, there's a history there. No, Alabama is not my favorite team in the world. But ever since all of this happened with Brandon Miller and the way that Nate Oates handled the situation, the way the entire Alabama athletic department handled that situation with the unfortunate events that happened in Tuscaloosa involving the Alabama basketball team, I have rooted for their demise. And I think it would have been the absolute worst symbol of sports if Alabama continues this ride of dominance in the basketball team and they go forward to the Final Four and they ultimately hoist a trophy at the end of the season. I think it would have been such a horrible look. And I feel like I wasn't alone when Alabama lost. I felt like everybody this season has had a little bit of a bad taste in their mouth about that Alabama team, and it felt like maybe the basketball world rejoiced just a little bit. It is not my jadedness as an LSU Tiger fan. That Alabama team was good. They dominated every single team they seemed to play. I mean, they dominated the SEC tournament. They looked good in the entirety of the NCAA tournament. I never want to root for bad things to happen to young college players who I know have dedicated their lives and time and money to this sport, but a little bit of me rejoiced inside when Alabama was out of the race.
I'm sure there were others that felt that same way, and it was because of the way. I'm not going to say the school. I'm just going to say the way that Oates and the AD handled the situation. From the start, what he said in his press conference, the whole thing just reeked. Just was like, are you really saying all this? Did it come out of your mouth? Like all this stuff come out of your mouth that you just said?
Insensitivity.
Like, wow, exactly. Like, wow, okay. So people didn't mind Alabama losing and not winning a championship because it wasn't like they were rooting against the players or I don't think they were rooting against the players because there are other players on that team that had nothing to do with it. I think they were rooting against Oates and how he presented everything. You see what Coach Saban did, and it was a message I think directed at the basketball team. Like, listen, when things like this happen, you need to be proactive and deal with it. We can always go back and bring the player back because Saban didn't kick the player out. He just suspended the player until he gets more information.
And acknowledged what Nate Oates wouldn't.
Absolutely. He acknowledged everything. And he said, we are suspending the player.
And
he didn't say we ain't kick him out or we're suspending him until we know more. Well, Nate Oates doubled down. It was just like, oh, never mind. Nothing here to see. Wrong place at the wrong time. How can you say something like that? That's why people were rooting. They were rooting against him.
Against him.
Yes.
And I think that the way that the Alabama fan base responded to it, that it wasn't a condemnation of Nate Oates. It was almost I don't know the word that I'm trying to find here. A defense.
They almost rallied around him.
Of something that seemed very indefensible.
Exactly. It's like, dude, you can, and I think I said this that day. It's like, listen, you don't have to kick him out of school. You don't have to take his scholarship away. But until we know more, we're going to sit you aside. That would have went over a lot better with everybody, not just Alabama fans, but that would have went over a lot better with everybody rather than doing and saying what you said.
And ball do not lie.
No.
San Diego State taking down a Goliath in Alabama on Friday night. I think ball did not lie that night there. Before we go, today was hard for us. Today was hard for our community. My thoughts and prayers, and I know, Derek, you feel the same way, are with the families, the community, the teachers, the parents, everyone involved at the Covenant School. Just a terrible tragedy that happened in our community today, and we hope that sports could at least make things a little bit easier for everybody.
Yeah, we hope we allowed you to, just put your mind somewhere else. And I know it was tough because things, when I was growing up, school was a place you enjoyed going to and to get away from some of the things. You may have been on punishment or something. You go to school and you can hang out with your buddies. And it was just a fun place of learning and being with your friends. those days, it's not like that anymore. You got to seriously worry about your kids' safety when you send them off to school, and it should never be that way.
Our hearts are with all of you. We'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Stillman & Company.